أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه أهل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه أهل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى أهله وصحبه وأهل بيته وبارك وسلم. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brothers and sisters, the reason why we put this presentation together, we call this, the heading of this is the essentials of the spiritual journey, is because of a lot of questions being asked by seekers about, how to go about this journey, you know, in a way that you avoid pitfalls. Uh, and there are a lot of questions from youngsters also, what they see around in this world today, where the truthfulness is really not there, and they see the hypocrisy around, and they are confused, about, they don't want to get into the wrong path, or spend their time, beating around the bush. So this is an attempt to quickly put together some important guidelines to how to go about this journey, so to avoid wasting your time, and again, as to avoid pitfalls and to reach where you need to reach. Okay. As from the previous presentations, this slide, it talks about the content of the presentation. The context of this presentation is a talk from a Sufi perspective, and the discussion definitely is beyond the level of Sharia. Okay. And it's an open discussion, a bold attempt to understand oneself. Success again comes to one once we are ready to experience failures. Why do we put this statement here? Because when you are in this path, you're going to be tested a lot. Okay, because definitely this path is one of the most difficult paths to get back to Allah. It is a journey of illallahu. So the shaitan definitely said, in the hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that whoever gets into this path to get back only to Allah, to illallahu, I'll be standing right in front of him. Okay, so that's the reason we put this. So we should not be afraid of failures, especially in this path. Okay. And why does failures come in this path? The reason is to subdue your own ego. Okay, to let go finally. And one is the, just a recommendation is the who am I and what am I presentation, which is already there, on the internet, on YouTube. And it will be also there on the website, the zikrekutub.org website. If you can go through that before you listen to this presentation, it will really help. Okay, but again, it's not really necessary. I will quickly go through 4 or 5 slides, which is a review, quick review actually, of who am I, what am I presentation, not at the depth, but just so that there is a continuity between what we are talking right now versus what was discussed before. Okay. Again, from a Sufi perspective, what is the most important, one of the most important hadiths that the Sufis follow is man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. That, the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the one who has understood his own self, the reality of his own self, his soul has understood his Rabb. And the reason why, when we quickly go into the Quran, when you look at the way the Quran has been compiled, uh, you start with Surah Fatiha. Okay, and the Surah Fatiha is what? It's a prayer which the Abd is talking to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and that prayer is actually divided into three parts. Okay, where initially is you are acknowledging who Allah is, right? Alhamdulillah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar Rahman Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. So up to Maliki Yawmiddin, it is where you are acknowledging who Allah is. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. He is the master of the universes. Ar-Rahman Rahim. The sifat that Allah wants, his makhluk to know, the two most important, the Rahman and Rahim, the beneficent and the merciful. Then Maliki Yawmiddin, he's the master of the day of judgment. Okay, so these three are uh, uh, you're stating who Allah is. Okay, from the perspective of the abd. Then you say Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, that you only ask from him, Allah. Okay, you're in need, you only ask from him. Then Yahdina Siratal Mustaqim, what do you ask from him? Yahdina Siratal Mustaqim, Allah guide me through the straight path. That is what you ask from him. Okay, and Siratal Ladina Anamta Alayhim Gairi Maghdubi Alayhim Waladdallin, Amin. Guide me through the straight path and not that path which of those people who have, or the human mankind who has come ahead of me, who because of their shortfalls, they got the wrath or the anger of Allah. Okay, so you want to be guided to the path of mercy. Once that chapter is over, that dialogue is over between the Abd and Allah, right? Immediately after that comes Alif Lam Mim. Now we need to understand this from a perspective. If you ask the normal Sharia imams, they will say Alif Lam Mim. Oh, these are letters, the huruf that nobody knows the meaning for this. And one of the things they say, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows it. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he knew all the secrets of the universe, and which is a true belief that you should have, and he had revealed the secrets about these letters. There are other chapters who also start with the hidden letters like Alif Lam Ra. The point is Alif stands for Allah, Lam stands for Muhyiddin, which is the reviver of the true Deen of Allah, Muhyiddin, and Mim is for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So as soon as you finish the chapter of Surah Fatiha, you get into Alif Lam Mim, and at that point itself, the seeker has to literally let go his ego, and this is the beauty of the Quran. Okay, you finish the Surah Fatiha, you're asking Allah for for guidance to the straight path, and the next chapter is Surah Baqarah, and immediately the first part of Surah Baqarah, Allah puts Alif Lam Mim. Allah didn't have to put Alif Lam Mim there. That is the point. He could have started the chapter of Surah Baqarah saying, Zalikal Kitabu la raiba fi hudal lil muttaqin, that this book is a good book of guidance only for those who fear Allah, hudal lil muttaqin. So, it's like before even I go into the Quran, these two first verses of Surah Baqarah, Alif Lam Mim and Zalikal Kitabu la raiba fi hudal lil muttaqin, I have to stop right there because there is a lot of things to understand from these two verses itself. The first thing, again, as we said, Alif Lam Mim, unless you reach the feet of the Kutub, right, you will not understand the meaning of Alif Lam Mim, because the entire secrets of the universe is contained in Alif Lam Mim. So unless a person completely subdues himself, lets his ego go away and says, Ya Allah, bless, go into the Musalla, pray at the time of Tahajjud, Ya Allah, please reveal me these secrets. This path will not be open to that person. So what the book is asking, the Quran is asking is, as soon as your Surah Fatiha is done and you're asked Allah for guidance, the first thing that you have to do before you approach this book is you have to humble yourself. You have to get to a point where you say, I don't know anything. That is what actually Alif Lam Mim signifies. It's definitely the entire secrets of universe is contained in Alif Lam Mim, but we are talking about the precondition. Precondition is Alif Lam Mim, the moment you read it, it should humble yourself. And you should say, well, I don't know anything. And immediately after that, Allah starts the next verse saying, Zalikal Kitabu la raiba fi hudal lil muttaqin, that this book is a book of guidance Okay, the rest of the 6,000 plus verses in the Quran is a book of guidance only for those who fear Allah. He has already put a precondition there. Allah has already put a precondition there that this book will only be a book of guidance for those who have fear of Allah. So Alif Lam Mim is should make you humble, and you have to be muttaqeen to go further to the next verse. Zalikal kitabu la raiba fihi hudan lil muttaqin. The next verse, the third verse of Surah Baqarah, you can only touch that verse before you satisfy these two preconditions, right? So this is how you have to analyze this path, brothers and sisters. Okay, Alif Lam Mim, Allah Rasul Muhyiddin. Muhyiddin, which is the Kutub of Allah, Ghaus al-Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu, he came and he gave lot of deep explanations of hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Quran. And one of the reasons, and we have covered this thing in Nur Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam presentation, but quickly, is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his infinite mercy knew that Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu, who are the imams actually of this ummat, because they were blessed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and taught by Ali radiallahu anhu. The tarbiyat of the children was done by Ali radiallahu anhu during the teenage years. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knew definitely, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew, Fatima knew, radiallahu ta'ala anha, Ali radiallahu knew that the two children are going to be, shaheed at a young age, and they will not be able to complete the mission. For Hassan radiallahu anhu, Fatima was blessed, the soul of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu. And because Hassan radiallahu anhu will be shaheed earlier, I think he was shaheed at the age of 46, I believe. And Hussein radiallahu anhu was shaheed at the age of 56. And for Hussein radiallahu anhu, the soul of Maktoum Ali Ahmad Sabir Pak radiallahu anhu, the soul of Sabir Pak was blessed. So these were the kutubs who would come in this ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who would further the ilm, because Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu would not be there. They will be shaheed before the time would come. Okay, so again the point is that I have to understand the reality. And Alif Lam Mim, it talks about the reality of when you go into prayer and when you are in the state where your soul is connected to the divine. All the prophets, the messenger, the kutubs, the walis, they all join with you in the prayer at that high level of consciousness. So, Baba Muhyiddin talks about the 18,000 universes that Allah has created. And Baba says that, there is nothing in the world in this 18,000 universe. The entire journey, spiritual journey, is within you. Nothing is there outside you. And that is what this hadith is talking about, that man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. Quickly, quickly we are going to go through the 3 states of mind. This is again covered in the Who Am I, What Am I presentation, in much more detail. We are talking about the physical mind here. We're not talking about the soul, the physical mind. Okay, and there are 3 states in the mind for every human being. There are 3 states. One is the wake state, the second state is the sleep state, and the third state is the deep sleep state. Now, why are we discussing these 3 states? Because mind is the biggest bottleneck or the biggest hurdle that I have to clear to get to Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is what Muhyiddin, which is the kutubs of Allah, have taught us. So if I need to conquer my mind, I need to analyze and understand my mind. Very important, right? Because if I have to conquer something, or if I have to overcome some difficulty, I need to understand the difficulty and then go through it to get deeper and conquer it. So the mind itself of any human being who is alive on this earth, right, has 3 states. The first state is the wake state. This is the state, where You get up, you brush your teeth, you go for to school or you go to work, right? You come back in the evening. So all the time is the wake state. Okay, the mind is working, functioning. The sleep state is when you get tired in the night and your body needs rest and you go into the sleep state. Now, there's another state beyond sleep state, which is deep sleep state. And what is the difference between the sleep state and the deep sleep state? In the sleep state, in the wake state now, the mind is fully awake. Okay. The subconscious mind and the conscious mind, everything is working. In the sleep state, the conscious mind, which is doing your calculations or whatever you do for a day-to-day life, that is shut down. But the subconscious mind is still working. And because of that, you might get dreams. Most of the time, the dreams that you get in the sleep state is what actually happened, during your daytime or something which happened recently. So it's the subconscious mind is still awake. Okay. But in the deep sleep state, what happens? The mind completely shut down. And in that state, you go into a deep state of relaxation. The mind, because it's completely shut down, the body takes over the autonomous nervous system, which is your breathing and your lungs is contracting and expanding. The heart is is pumping the blood. Only that remains. Everything else is completely shut down. And what happens? You might be sleeping for like if you're very tired, you might sleep for 6 to 7 hours continuously in deep sleep state, and you would never realize so many hours has passed by. Why is this state so important? Because this state actually gives you the state in which you should be in the meditation. Okay, the reason is, and we will cover that in the next slide. The reason being, if you see the right hand side, we have the wake state where the mind is completely awake, sleep state where the mind the conscious mind is shut down but the subconscious mind is still awake, right? And in the deep sleep state where even the subconscious mind is also sleeping, and you don't have any dreams in the third state. But what happens, what is common between these three states? The common between these three states is, guess what, you're still alive. So that is your soul, he is sitting and witnessing all these three states. Okay, so and what is the state of the soul? The state of the soul is, essence of the soul is, it's neither connected to the wake state, neither connected to the sleep state, and neither connected to the deep sleep state, but it is watching, it is witnessing all these three states. And the soul is always, of every human being, is always in a state of witnessing what's going on. It is not participating, that is the point, it is not participating in the wake state, sleep state, and deep sleep state. But whatever happens, whatever that human being is doing in the wake state or in the sleep state, in his dreams, subconscious mind, it affects uh, the health of the soul. And this is the unfortunate thing, because what happens, and that is the point, on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the soul is going to cry, because it is the mind, with the monkey mind, which could not control itself, the thoughts and the actions and the intentions, that now the soul has to come back in another body and go through the same pain and suffering, right? So the point is that, what is the struggle for a human being? The struggle for the human being is, how do I go through life where my soul is in the foreground and the mind takes a back seat? For 99.99% of human beings, they go through the life with the mind being in the driver's seat and the soul never coming into the foreground. And because of that, the soul is patiently waiting throughout the entire life of that individual so that the mind can sit down. And that's one of the reasons why we are analyzing this very, very closely, is one has to understand that when you go into deep meditation, you have to be in a state where your mind is completely shut down. But what is the difference? In deep sleep, and we'll cover that in the next slide, okay? Uh, in deep sleep, and let's look at this table in front. is very important slide, and it has covered again. It's who am I, what am I presentation. We have gone through that in depth. Okay, but let's go through this quickly again here. We on the left hand side on the first column we have ignorance and error as the two rows. Okay, and we are going to compare ignorance and error to all the four states. So what is the first state? Is the wake state. Now in the wake state, because mind is at play, right, and mind has limited capacity. What does that mean? Mind has limited capacity because you know the processing power of the brain is 126 bits per second. Okay, it can only process 126 bits per second. Beyond that, it will overflow. Okay, so there is a limitation, right? Because there is limitation of the mind in the wake state, right, conscious mind, there could be ignorance because the mind does not know everything, right? Whatever is the inputs of the five senses, these are the five inputs for the brain, right? It could be hearing, seeing, listening, touching, right? These are the five senses which smelling. So through that, whatever are the senses through which the information is fed into the brain. So there's limitation. So there could be ignorance, and because there is ignorance, there is also chances of error. Okay. Now same thing you continue into the sleep state, which is dream state again, because the dream state, though the conscious mind is shut down, right? The subconscious mind, okay, is still working. So again, because it's a reflection, the sleep state is a reflection of the wake state. So there could be ignorance. You could be thinking in the dream that you're flying, sitting on the top of a aeroplane, and that could happen in the dream. You're a Superman, could happen in the dream, but that is not true. It's an error. Okay. Now, what happens in deep sleep state? In the deep sleep state where the mind is completely shut down, definitely there is ignorance, because you know what, in the deep sleep state you don't know how many hours you have slept. You don't know, where you are sleeping. You know, you have no clue of where you are sleeping, how many hours you have slept, what position you are sleeping. You have no clue. So there is ignorance. But guess what? Because the mind is shut down completely, there is no error. Okay. So what is the point we're trying to make? That the moment the mind shut down completely, which is the mind with the limited capacity of processing, the error has disappeared. Okay. Now we go into the last column, which is pure consciousness, which is witnessing the wake state, sleep state, and deep sleep state. Pure consciousness is connected to the soul, and the soul is connected directly to the divine, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once you get into the soul, all the secrets of the universe is revealed to you. Nothing in the universe is left as a question mark. Everything is revealed to you. Answers will be given to you as soon as you ask, because the mind is not there anymore. What Allah, Rasul, and Muhyiddin, Alif Lam Mim is waiting is for you to conquer your mind, still your mind, and keep going forward. And then you get to a point of pure consciousness, which is the path of the Kutub. And this path of pure consciousness is available through the ilm of Kutub. And again, this ilm is definitely part of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's teachings. And as we said, because Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu were going to be shaheed at a young age, of Hassan radiallahu anhu shaheed at 46 years old and Hussein radiallahu anhu shaheed at 56 years old, the two Qutubs who were appointed, one was Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilan radiallahu anhu, and second was in place of Hassan radiallahu anhu, and second was in place of Hussein radiallahu anhu was Hazrat Makhdum Alauddin Ali Ahmad Sabir Pak radiallahu anhu. Through them came the lot of teachings, and blessings, both of them. Okay. So let's go back and look at pure consciousness. In pure consciousness, because you're connected to the divine, there is no ignorance. Okay. The awareness is there completely. Because there is no ignorance, the second row, which is error, there is no error either. And why is this table so important? Because you see, in deep sleep state, I'm ignorant of who am I, but I have no error, right? Because the mind is completely shut down. And what is pure consciousness? pure consciousness is which encompasses all three states. It's a witness for all three states, and hence there is no error and no ignorance. So what do we conclude here? We conclude that what is deep sleep state is the closest to pure consciousness, right? Minus the awareness. Or you could say that deep sleep state plus awareness, that is awareness of who you are, that is man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu, is actually pure consciousness. Okay. Now, quickly we need to go through, what we are trying to control, right? We have to control our mind. So, and this is one of the preconditions of prayer. The reason is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created the jinn or the mankind except to worship me. Now, how do I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whom I cannot even comprehend through my limited processing power of 126 bits per second, right? You cannot. There has to be, so if you have to get into deeper states of higher level of consciousness and meditation, approaching even the religious scriptures. It could be the Quran, the Bible, the Upanishad, Vedas, whatever it is, right? Or the Torah. You will not be able to get and analyze the scriptures to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because there is limitation there. So you have to use the scriptures, the zikr, and get into a higher state of consciousness by stilling your mind, and then you are able to witness, never able to comprehend, brothers and sisters. You'll never be able to comprehend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we will get to that, we'll get to that in the later slides where it will be more clear, what it means, and so that you realize what the journey is all about. So the point is, let us look at what is needed. The mind has to be in the present. That is a precondition of the prayer. Now, what does the mind has to be in the present mean? Let us analyze that, in a more practical way, right? So suppose, I'm an architect, student of architecture, right? And I've been given an assignment that I have to draw a plan for a house, okay? And most of the time, the mind should be in still, and it should be in the present. Most of the time the creative people, it could be an artist, it could be a musician, it could be a sculpturer, people who are very creative. These people, when they do their work with passion, their mind, their entire concentration is stuck, at one thing that they're working on. So, at that point, even if he could be a scientist also, right, working on his invention, or one of the issues that he's trying to solve. So the point is that he uses his entire processing power of the brain, the 126 bits per second, to concentrate on the problem in front of him, right? He's neither in the past nor in the future. That is what we're trying to say. And why do we, and we need to spend some time here, okay, because very important to understand what the problem is. Because if you have to solve a problem, you have to understand a problem first. Because if you don't understand the problem, you will never be able to solve the problem. So let's look at quickly what is the working. Why is the mind always going into the past? Because on this slide we say the past, you have an agitated mind, a depressed mind most of the time. Why is that we say agitated mind or depressed mind? Why don't we say a great memory there, And when you look at the future, it says, well, it could be an anxious mind, a monkey mind with thousands and thousands of thoughts, unstable mind, mind filled with desires, right? Why do we say that? So let's quickly go through how did the human race evolve on this planet. So definitely Adam and Awwa, they were sent from heaven onto this earth. Adam and Awwa had a lot of children, right? So the initial community of the human race on this earth, they had to live in the jungles, and most of them had to hunt for a living. Okay, so when you are in the jungle and you have to hunt for a living, it was a very tough life. They did not start agriculture right away. It was a very tough life. So they did not know where the next meal came from. They did not know, what is the next threat. Like for example, you could be in the jungle and there could be a lion or a tiger, wild animals going around. So it is not like today's life where you're much more secure and much more stable, compared to a day-to-day life. It's much more, the human beings have have a better survival standard now. So because we evolved from that particular state where uh, the next meal is uncertain, the next wild animal, or the place where you had to migrate is uncertain. The mind always kept a database, okay, or memory bank of all the incidents, the bad things that happened. And why did that happen? Because the mind has been programmed in such a way so that the human race can survive. Okay, and that is one of the only reasons, why the mind kept this database in the memory. You could think about this way. For example, again, it's not, if say somebody had a bad accident, that memory, or or death in the family, near one, that particular thought, it remains all the time in the foreground. You can recall that from the memory anytime, and all the small things that happened on that day, or what you went through, the bad experience, or sorrowful event, you'll be like right there. And the reason again is because the mind is trying to keep you from survive on this planet. So if there is a, say you crossed a red light one day and you got a ticket from the cops, right? Every time you see the red light, your heartbeat might go up, right? Because you have to brake now, otherwise you're going to get a ticket. So that's the 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 automatic system of the brain which is working, right, to protect you. But unfortunately you have to tame it, because you really don't need this thing to always come and bombard you. Because what happens, say somebody near and dear in your life passed away, and you keep on getting this thought every now and then, 7 by 24, you will automatically get into a state of depression, right? You don't need this all the time. And there's a beautiful incident which happened, and I just want to touch on it. Ummah Rabitul Adwi, she was a great awliya of Allah. She was from Basra in Iraq, and a lot of kutubs and a lot of walis of Allah used to go to her to learn from her the deen of Allah. And one day what happened is, one of the sheikhs came from far away to sit with Ummah Rabitul Adwi to learn from her. And he had a band, like a handkerchief, which he had tied, around his forehead. And he was sitting in front of Ummah Rabitul Adwi, and she looked at him and said, "Why do you have this, handkerchief you have tied around your head?" And he said, "Oh, I'm having a very bad headache today." Okay. And she asked him, the next question is, after how long are you having this headache? He said, "Oh, I don't really remember. It's been from a long time. I don't remember in the near future ever having a headache like this." And immediately she remarked to the sheikh that, "Did you wear a headband when you did not have an headache?" What does that mean? Here you have an headache for one day, and you're letting the creation of Allah know that you are having a bad headache because you put this handkerchief or, around your head and you tied it. So everybody will ask you this question. You're letting the pain know, right? So she's asking, did you wear a band around your head, saying, thanking Allah that, oh Allah, I don't have a headache today, right? So the point is that human nature is, if I have a small problem, the brain always try to amplify it. And the other way to look at it, for example, if somebody is having a very bad toothache, you know and he has to go for a root canal, right? And say, you know he reads on the internet, on one of the websites, oh, there has been flood in South America, and say 200 people passed away. What do you think that the human nature is? He definitely he'll be concerned about the 200 people, but for him his toothache is more important, right? So that's how the mind actually works. Okay, and unfortunately, in the enlightenment process, when you go through a spiritual journey, you know, you have to let go your reptilian brain. Reptilian brain is the brain where survivability and reproduction is the only main criteria. Okay, so that's what we are discussing. So again, when that's the past, and the future is again being unstable. The brain is always trying to figure out what's going on, and really don't need to do that. And you have to literally learn in meditation how to not go much into the past and not go too much into the future. Okay, and to stay in the present, right? Okay, this is an important topic that we will cover right here, which is again, a lot of questions being asked about sincerity and truthfulness. You know, definitely we are not living in times where you'll find a lot of truthful and sincere people. And unfortunately, because the love for the world has gone so much deeper into the human beings, there's a lot of suffering around in the world. People are more selfish and self-centered. And people think that we are in isolated silos, and it is not true. Every human being contributes to the well-being of the planet, and whatever is the state of every human being, it reflects on the health of the planet itself. Okay, so the more each person gets more high enlightened, and the more spiritual elevation happens for each person, the more the universal soul and the universal consciousness of the planet, and hence the universe, it goes into a positive state. Okay, today, and we'll discuss that in depth. So what is this thing, the two qualities, spiritual sincerity and truthfulness? These two qualities are extremely important in the path. Okay, there are other qualities which you have to look at, but these two qualities are extremely important, and we will go through these qualities quickly. All right. um, and we're going to take example of Bilal radiallahu anhu, okay, for the first topic of sincerity. Sincerity in what? In thought, in action, and in intention. Okay, and this is a quote, it's in Urdu, and I just wanted to put it here, and we'll discuss this. It says, रह गए रस्म अजान रूह बिलाली न रही. What does that mean? It means that the ritual of azan, or the call of prayer, remains even today, the 5 times prayer of the Muslims. But the soul of Bilal radiallahu anhu does not exist in this, the call of prayer anymore. Now, who is Bilal radiallahu anhu? He was a Sahabi, and he one of the first few Sahabis who accepted Islam. They went through a lot of torture and suffering. Bilal radiallahu anhu definitely, had took the brunt of it, and he was also the first muazzin, the person who calls the azan of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's masjid in Masjid Nabawi in Medina Munawwara. Okay. Now, Bilal radiallahu anhu, he was from descent, he was from African descent, and he came from Habash, you know, Habash, from Africa. So his pronunciation of Arabic was not exactly the same way the Arabs of the continent of the Arabian Peninsula who would talk Arabic. And Bilal radiallahu anhu, every day in the morning, 5 times, that call of prayer, Bilal radiallahu anhu gave the prayer, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the intention, not even the action. The thought is something which happens in the brain, right? Action is which comes out. Okay, and intention is behind the action. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the intention behind the action. That's the reason Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, innamal amalu binniya, which is the first hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari. So innamal amalu binniya is, every action is judged or weighed according to the intention. So Allah looks at the inside, the essence of the worship, which is, even the call of prayer is a worship, right? And we're going to use 4 examples, during the lifetime of Bilal radiallahu anhu, to go look into the sincerity of the what is needed in this path, okay, of the spiritual path for the seeker, okay, as an example. So one day what happened? First one is Bilal radiallahu anhu, as normal, he would recite the azan, and it was the time of Fajr. And the Sahabis, they went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, Bilal radiallahu anhu has a different accent, and we would like some other Sahabis to Sahabi to give the call of prayer today. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his wisdom, he knew what is going to happen, and he just kept quiet, and he wanted the Sahabis to learn a lesson. So he said, okay, if that's what you want, go ahead. And he kept quiet, because he knew what's going to happen. And the Sahabis waited for the Fajr time to happen, and they knew that the Fajr time is close. On that day, Fajr kept on getting prolonged, and it never happened for a long time. And the Sahabis were a little anxious, and they went back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. By the time Jibril wasallam had come down, descended to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, Allah will only let Fajr happen if Bilal radiallahu anhu is going to give the azan. Now look at this, the sincerity of Bilal radiallahu anhu, and that is what it means that Rahi gahi rasme azan, ruhe Bilali na rahi. That means, the ruh of Bilal radiallahu anhu, calling the azan, is what Allah wanted at the highest level of call of prayer, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is leading the prayer. That is the beauty of it. That Allah said, you know what, if you want to change my muazzin, then Fajr is not going to happen. The sun would not rise. So where are you going to call the prayer? So finally, Bilal radiallahu anhu gave the prayer on that day, and that day the Sahabas realized the high state of spiritual state of Bilal radiallahu anhu, not only in the eyes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but how much it meant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling the prayer. Okay. The second thing is the incident we wanted to talk about is the incident which happened after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. The moment Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Bilal radiallahu anhu would cry so much that he couldn't give the azan. The reason is that because it was, the way they lived their life, right? So close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much, the Sahabis, that the moment Bilal radiallahu anhu would give the azan, they knew very well that who is going to come and lead the prayer? It is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the moment Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, passed away from the human form, Bilal radiallahu anhu could not give the azan because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not there to follow him in the prayer. And Bilal radiallahu anhu, because he was so sad and he couldn't live in Medina anymore, he migrated to Syria. And it is said that Bilal radiallahu anhu stayed there for a long time. But one day he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dream asking Bilal radiallahu anhu that, Ya Bilal, you are not going to come and visit me anymore. And Bilal radiallahu anhu, immediately he came back to Medina Munawwara, to the tomb of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to visit him, right? Here's the greatness. There are some people in this ummah, he says, oh, going to the tombs of the kutubs and the walis, it is really not needed. And here's Bilal radiallahu anhu come to the tomb of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to visit him, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came in the dream and said, Ya Bilal, are you not going to come and visit me, right? So visiting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Madinah Munawwara is like visiting him as if he's alive. He's definitely, soul is alive. That is what our belief is, right? And he's there. He's Hazir and Nazir, right? And so the point is, when Bilal radiallahu anhu came back to Madinah Munawwara, all the Sahabis lined up and said, "Yeah, Bilal, you should call the azan." And Bilal radiallahu anhu said, "No, I cannot." But finally, and again, this is the love that Bilal radiallahu anhu had for Hassan Hussein radiallahu anhu. Because the love for Rasulullah is the same love the Sahabis had. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved, Sahabis loved the same thing. So when Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu came and requested Bilal radiallahu anhu that to give the azan, he couldn't say no, because here's the beautiful grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam requesting, and how can he say no to them? So he climbed up the mimbar, the mihrab, the minaret of the Masjid an-Nabawi, and he gave the azan. On that day, the entire city of Medina came out crying, because they came running towards the Masjid an-Nabawi, because they thought, who's going to come and lead the prayer? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. See, brothers, this is the attachment that azan had, so much attachment to Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. Now the fourth one, again, let's look at how much truthful was Bilal radiallahu anhu. Okay. One day, Bilal radiallahu anhu was sitting, just before the time of Fajr, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, it is the time of Fajr now, so let me go and give azan. Okay, because the time of azan of Fajr had not happened, but he said, Ya Rasulullah, he was just asking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is the time of Fajr and let me go and give the azan. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, no, Bilal, it is not yet. The time of azan of Fajr has not happened. Just wait for a few more minutes. Now Bilal radiallahu anhu, again, the greatness of of Allah's qadar, Bilal radiallahu anhu, in his own a little hastiness, he said, Ya wallahi, ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is the time for Fajr. Now he used the word wallahi, by Allah, right? It is the time of Fajr. Immediately Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes, Bilal, it is the time of Fajr. Go and give the call of prayer. Now, here's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam a few seconds before saying it is not the time of Fajr, and immediately after that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying it is the time of Fajr. So that's a contradiction. Now, what happens is in between, because Bilal radiallahu anhu, from his sacred, blessed tongue, he says, Wallahi, by Allah, Fajr has happened. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you had asked me earlier, it was really not the time of Fajr. There was still some few minutes remaining. But when you said Wallahi, because Allah loves you so much and your tongue always speaks the truth, He made the sun move ahead in his in its path, so that Bilal, whatever he says, holds true. And He moved the sun ahead so that it became Fajr, because He said, Wallahi, it's Fajr. This is how much Allah loves, those who are sincere and truthful. So, brothers and sisters, don't we'll go to the next slide, which will talk about truthfulness. Okay, we should have the highest references, when we are going in this path. Don't look at examples from today. Because if you have to reach the aim of the goal of illallahu, it's not a small goal. Not everybody will reach this goal. Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu says one in a million will understand this path and get into this into illallahu. There'll be no day of judgment for that person. There'll be no pool sirat for that person. What does that mean? Well, there's a discount going on? No. The pool sirat will be completed in this life. The trial and tribulation of that individual will be finished off, completed in this life. In this life, which is the last life for that person to go into illallahu. And we'll talk about that. So again, let's go to the next slide. Truthfulness in daily life, it's very important. A lot of people ask this question, when they look at the condition of the world today. There is so much of lack of trust, between people, you know between communities, between societies, between countries. There's a lot of lack of trust. People just don't trust each other. And why is that? Because the truthfulness in the daily life of human beings has gone down. So if somebody is a seeker in this path, brothers and sisters, very important that these small truths in your life is very important, because otherwise how do you think that you can merge to a higher truth, which is the truth of Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? When your daytime life has got a lot of falsehood, it will not happen. It is just not the recitation of the Quran, or the Bible, or the Upanishad, or the Vedas, or the mantras. No, it is also how much truthful you are in this life. you know your thoughts has to be truthful, your actions have to be truthful, and your intentions have to be truthful. All these things has to be truthful. Then only you can merge with the higher truth. Okay. And we will definitely analyze these thoughts, actions, and intentions in the next few slides. Okay. Now let's again, why I want to analyze the truthfulness with the incident of Karbala. And why I want to go back to Karbala, this has been analyzed a lot in Fanaf Rasul presentation. The reason is because Karbala happened after Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and most of the Sahabas, passed away. So, it is a time when Hussein radiallahu anhu was really left alone. His father passed away, his brother passed away, Hassan radiallahu anhu passed away, Ali radiallahu anhu passed away, mother is not more there, grandfather is gone, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not there, and he had to stand up alone, okay, defending the truth. Because the Khilafat, which is the Khulafa Rashidin, you know, about of the four Khulafa after Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu, and Ali bin Ali Talib karmallahu wajah, Abu Talib karmallahu wajah. These four Khilafat, Khulafa Rashidin, which is the guided Khilafat, was finished, right? It was expired, and then what came after that is Muawiyah and Muawiyah's son Yazid, right? And they literally, created havoc, right? The entire basis of Islamic, Khilafat, which is choosing a leader, was gone. It went from father to son now, and that is not, no, that is not Khilafat. This is kingship, right? And Hussein radiallahu anhu, he was an insan kamil. He was a perfect human being, and how can he give bayah, right, to a drunkard and a womanizer like Yazid, right? And uh, whatever Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had brought and whatever the Sahabas, sacrificed for, everything was at stake at Karbala. And in order to uphold the truth with 72 of his followers, 18 of them were the children of Fatima radiallahu anha's grandchildren and children. And 72 men in total, they were shaheed, massacred in Karbala, to the point that Zainab radiallahu anha and the wives of Hussein radiallahu anhu and the children of Ali radiallahu anhu from other wives other than Fatima radiallahu anha, you know, their niqab, they used to cover their faces. It was taken away. They were humiliated. They were made to march from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa all the way to Syria, to Damascus, where Yazid was having his palace, right? So much of hardships and torture, and massacre. For what? What was at stake? What was at stake was the the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what did Hussein radiallahu anhu do? He left no stone unturned trying to defend. So he set a high standard of being truthful, and no price is less at that point, right? It is said that when Zainab radiallahu anha was born, Ali radiallahu anhu and Fatima radiallahu anha were crying, and Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu came to Ali radiallahu anhu to congratulate that after Zainab was born, and Ali radiallahu anhu was in tears and he couldn't explain anything, and Ali radiallahu anhu waited to name the daughter because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that time was not in Medina Munawwara. He had gone out. He came the next day, and when Ali radiallahu anhu handed over the baby to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had the baby and he also started crying. Zainab radiallahu anha. And what was the reason? The reason is because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ali radiallahu anhu, Fatima radiallahu anha knew how much of torture and humiliation the Fatima radiallahu anha would have to face after the massacre of Ahlul Bayt in Karbala. It is said that Zainab was such a beautiful woman, even the angels felt shy, right? And none of her hair was gray before Karbala happened. But within 1 year of Karbala happening, all her hair had turned gray. Brothers and sisters, think about it, the amount of pain and suffering that she went through. All the children of, the male children of Fatima radiallahu anha's household, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam household, except for Zainul Abidin radiallahu anhu, who's Hussein radiallahu anhu's son, everybody were massacred. Only the women folks remained, right? So think about it, what she had to, carry this family, together. the amount of tension and abuse that she faced. For what? To uphold the truth. So how important it is, brothers and sisters, that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's grandchildren set the standard for us. So what I'm trying to say is that you will always find in this life, in the spiritual journey, you'll find people cutting corners, not being truthful. But remember that the standards have already been set. Okay, so make sure that you pick the right references for yourself when we are talking about the two most important qualities needed in this path, which is sincerity and truthfulness. So we covered two important, the event of Karbala for truthfulness and sincerity, and also Bilal radiallahu anhu as an example. Okay, again a small note here, how important was Hussein radiallahu anhu to even the angels. Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam used to come and rock the cradle of Hussein radiallahu anhu when he was a baby. And the beauty of it is that Hussein radiallahu anhu's father, Ali radiallahu anhu, guess what? When he was a baby, who used to rock the cradle of Ali radiallahu anhu? It was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. It is so beautiful. And one of the thing I just wanted to mention to you, that the beautiful relation between Hussein radiallahu anhu and his sister Zainab, Zainab radiallahu anha. The beauty was that Zainab, when she used to cry as a baby, Fatima radiallahu anha used to take the baby girl and put it in the lap of Hussein radiallahu anhu, and immediately she would stop crying. Not in the lap of Hassan radiallahu anhu, but in the lap of Hussein radiallahu anhu. He was only few years, I think 4 years old, when Zainab radiallahu anha was born. And it was a beautiful relation that they had, and because they were going to go through a lot, in Karbala, right? So Allah was preparing that the close bond they had. In fact, it is said that when it was time for Hussein radiallahu anhu, the circumstances happened that he had to leave Medina, and it was time for her to go, to him to go. Zainab radiallahu anha went to her husband and pleaded to him that you have to let me go with my brother, even though everybody, the Sahabis, knew from their from intuition that they were going for a journey which is going to be very difficult one, right? But her husband allowed her to go with her brother Hussein radiallahu anhu, because, and in fact he said, take the sons Muhammad and Aoun. They were the two young sons of Zainab. They were also made to accompany, and they were also shaheed. Muhammad and Aoun were both radiallahu anha, they were anhuma, they were shaheed in the battle of Karbala. So this is just to touch on the beautiful relation, the brother and sister relation between Hussein radiallahu anhu and Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha. Okay, and again, Hussein radiallahu anhu, how he was shaheed. Definitely, we know that his neck was head was severed from the body. And in what state did this enemies Yazidis did that this heinous act? He was in sujood, he was in prayer. Otherwise they could never get close to him, right? And this is the highest level of truthfulness. He's in sujood and he's in prayer, and they're severing his neck, right? And the beauty part of it, the beauty part of it is when the head was being severed at that time. Yeah, when Hussein radiallahu anhu passed away at that time, from the Alam-e Arwa, this ayat of the Quran is from Surah Fajr, ayat number 27. Ya hayyatu anna nafsa mutmainna irja'i ila rabbika radiyan mardiya fadkhuli fi ibadi wa adkhuli fi jannati. This particular verse was heard, right? That, oh nafsa mutmainna, you have been welcome back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that is the state in which Hussein radiallahu anhu's soul left the body. And it is said that at the same time Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's voice was heard in Alam-e Arwa, saying that, Ya Hussein, you have fulfilled the greatness that, he used to, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to lift Hussein radiallahu anhu on his shoulder, and play with him, and said, today you have proved that whom I lifted on my shoulder, you know, and actually, the same thing which Fatima radiallahu anha's voice was heard, that in Alam Arwah, that the blessed milk that flowed from her breast, which nurtured the baby, that he has paid the price, he has come full, his mother is happy with him of whatever he had to go through. Ali radiallahu anhu's voice was heard, that the beautiful, the children from my progeny, who were, Ali radiallahu anhu used to do hard, labor job to survive his family. He used to do irrigation. He used to be good at irrigation, and he used to work at the farm, of a Jewish landlord, and that's how he used to feed his family. And Ali radiallahu anhu's voice came that, that that he has taken care, tarbiyat of the children, and he has come true at that, right? And the beauty of of Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anh, that when Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam was building his ship, in which all the creations of Allah were being collected before the destructive flood came, right? Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam, when the entire ship was built, Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam's, the ship, in the front of the ship, Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu's name was engraved. And Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam asked Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam, why are you engraving the name of Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhu? And he was told that this is for the protection of the ship. Okay. And again, quickly, I just want to go through Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam's incident, of Zabiha. And this has been talked about in Fanafe Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam presentation, but quickly I just want to touch on it, that we all know that Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was asked to do the zabiyah of Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. And when the child, the young handsome boy Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, 14-year-old boy, when father and son had reached Muzdalifah to carry out the sacrifice, when the son was, he was facing the father, and he couldn't do it. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam couldn't do it, because looking at his beautiful son's face, so Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam at that time said that, father, you turn me around so that my head is facing you, and then you put a blindfold, and then go for the sacrifice, right? And Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam listened to his son at that point, and he put a blindfold. He turned his son around so that the son's face is facing the ground, and he went for the sacrifice. Now the beauty part of it is that when Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam completed the sacrifice, he knew that his sword had cut through some flesh and bones, right? Because he felt the resistance. And once he finished the sacrifice, you should remember that he's still blindfolded, right? And that he touched the edge of his sword, and guess what? He has felt blood on it, right? And he's thinking now, if suppose you are witnessing this situation, right? He's thinking that his son has been shaheed now, because has been sacrificed in the path of Allah, because he has already felt touched blood on the edge of the sword, and he smiled. Can you imagine that? What would happen to you and me? We would sit and cry there. He smiled. You know why? Because he's the friend of Allah. He's the Khalil of Allah. And he smiled because he was happy that he had so much of Iman that he could carry out Allah's command. Okay. Now, once he finished that, he opened his blindfold. To his surprise, he found Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam sitting under the tree right opposite to where Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was standing, and in front of him was this sheep which was sacrificed. Now, looking at this situation, a normal father would be in joy. Hey, my son is alive, and here's a sheep which is sacrificed. So, this is a win-win situation. No. So what happens here? Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam starts crying. And he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, you did not accept my sacrifice. Why is Ismail still alive? And Allah is in his infinite mercy, he says, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam tells Ibrahim salatu wasalam that I really didn't want the sacrifice or the blood of Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. But what I wanted is the moment you went through the sacrifice, your connection, because he loved Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam so much, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, that I wanted the attachment of your son to go away from your heart. And that was the only reason that I made you go through the sacrifice. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continued that in the ummat of my Habib, in the progeny or in the family of my Habib Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I will accept the sacrifice of the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is Hussein radiallahu anhu. His sacrifice at Karbala I will accept. And Allah said that whoever from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who would understand, analyze and understand, not just cry and moan, analyze and understand for what the reason Hussein radiallahu anhu went for this sacrifice, and if he or she sheds one drop of tear, brothers and sisters, thinking about this incident of Karbala, he will be given the ajr of the same ajr as Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam sacrificing Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. And today, the 10th of Muharram passes, the month of Muharram passes, and we are wishing each other Happy New Year, and like Islamic New Year has come, and you don't hear in any, Sunni masajids, where, the incident of Karbala is related. Oh, they say it's just a political event. No, brothers and sisters, it's not a political event. There are no numerous hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which talks about it ahead of time. Okay. And again, the point I'm trying to make is, that we are talking about the two things, that is sincerity and truthfulness. So we have analyzed the situation, and let's keep going to the next slide. Now, the next topic that we're going to cover is, again, the presentation is about essentials of the spiritual path. So what do we need to be careful about when living in this life? If we are a seeker and we are serious in this path, what do we need to be truthful about? So, I'm going to, again, because this is, not completely Islamic, I would say it is more in a spiritual level. There is a distinction, right, between religion and spirituality. So, look at this from a more spiritual angle than just, Islamic angle. So I'm using the word karma. Karma is a Sanskrit word. It actually means deeds, right, or actions, but it's much more than that. It is karma actually encompasses thoughts, actions, and intentions all put together. Okay, and it really doesn't mean just the thoughts, actions, of intention of this life that you have on this earth. Okay, there are numerous planets like Earth surviving, running in parallel in this 18,000 universe that Allah has created. Right, human beings, soul do recycle from body to body depending upon whether the soul has realized, man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu, and whether it has merged with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. So these are deep secrets which the kutubs came and gave. Okay, and it is not at the level of Sharia, again, brothers and sisters. So if you ask, oh, where is there a rebirth in Islam, oh, we never heard of it and all that, the kutub, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu has talked about it. But this is not, this is called as ilme kutubiyat. It is a level of the knowledge of Islamic spirituality at the level of hakikat and marifat. Okay, and sufiyat, this is at a higher level. It is beyond shariat and tariqat. So if you are at the level of Shariat and Tariqat, you will not hear about this thing. That doesn't mean that these are not higher truths. These are all truths which are already there. Okay. Again, so let's cover these topic quickly. The karma, karma, again, that we said, it's action, thoughts, and intentions all put together. Okay. So what is the thing that we're discussing here? We are talking about karma. Karma again means, as we said, actions, thoughts, and intentions. It could be good karma or bad. Okay, and we are talking about the bad part of it right now. Why we are talking about the bad is because we are on this spiritual journey as seekers, right? We want to know what will cause us from proceeding further. Okay, what are the karma that we should be careful about? Okay, where your spiritual journey might come to a standstill, or it could slow down big time. So we need to understand that. Okay, because we are covering the essentials of the spiritual journey. Right. So what is the first thing we're going to say? We look at the action. We say my body does not collect undissolvable karma. What is undissolvable karma? It is something which cannot which cannot be gotten rid of. Okay, just think about it, and we're going to analyze it. Mind and thoughts. Okay, that does not collect undissolvable karma, which means action still okay. you know it if you do something wrong, it can be dissolved, or it can be it can be nullified, you could say that way. Okay, mind, thoughts, karma, bad thoughts, again it can be nullified, right? But what is the scary part? The third one, which is intentions. This is undissolvable, which means this once you do some action or thought with the wrong intention, then it becomes undissolvable. That means it cannot be nullified. And we're going to go through quickly 4 levels of karma. Okay, very important. Okay, so that you understand what are the pitfalls that you should avoid as a seeker. The first one is a basic level where the mind gets polluted with a bad thought, get influenced with bad thought or something which is negative. So what happens? The negative particles or the negative energy around you comes and tries to get close to your soul. It touches the surface. You being an intelligent person, you realize right away that the mind was polluted. You regain control of your consciousness. Okay, you straighten yourself out basically, and that you guide yourself, your mind, from the bad thought. Again, this is just we're talking about a bad thought. Okay, it is not even action. And you guide your mind from the bad thought into a good one, and you get involved in good activity. Okay, so this is a first level karma, and this does not get like accounted by Kiraman and Katmin, the two angels on the right and left shoulder. Okay, it's something you just had a bad thought and you got over it, and you went ahead, conquered that moment. Okay, let's go to the next one. So what is, again, before you go, whatever is here, it says whatever bad thought touched, it gets removed without any negative effect on the heart, on your spiritual condition. There is no action involved. It is just the monkey mind, not ready to sit quiet. Again, brothers, monkey mind and everything is discussed in detail in Who Am I, What Am I, and this is again just covering the essentials of the spiritual path. Now let's look at the second level of karma. Okay, it is here the bad thought has given into bad activity. Now activity doesn't mean action, brothers. Activity means you are getting provoked, right, by the brain to do a bad thought through bad activity, and the whispering of shaitan, you can say, vasvasa of shaitan, and you are almost ready to act on it. Okay, now what does that happen? So what that means is the karma, the negative energy, right, it sticks to your aura, which is the condition of your heart. It's like a glue. Okay, it has an effect, but it has a minor effect, negative effect. You did not mean to do something. Okay, it's just your human weakness that the provocation is there. Now you are almost ready to act now. And again, hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that if you follow a bad deed with a good one, or follow a bad thought with a good one, after some time the positive nature takes over, and this particular karma or action is removed without causing any harm to your enlightenment process. Okay, so that is the second level where you're about to act because of the whispering shaitan and everything, and you have been in that negative effect for quite some time, but you just escape out of it. Okay, then let's go to the third one. So third one is that the karma, the negative thing, not only touched you, but now it sticks to you, but much more than hard than glue. The first one was it just touched the surface where it was just a thought, right? The second one is you were already provoked, and you are about to get into the action. The third state that we're discussing here is, and the second one is like you have been touched by the glue, like the bad thought has touched yourself, with like you're touching the glue. It's stuck to you now, but again it can be removed. The third one is where you not only the thought happened, you already got provoked, okay, and you are now acting on it, the negative thought. And what happened as per hadith, that again, you have with positive effect and positive good intention, through spiritual activities, through istighfar, through zikr, you help through good deeds, you help poor people, you do good deeds, you help the society, animals, trees, you do fasting, you go for hajj and umrah, and expedition of sins. Even the karma, because of your human weakness, even though you did the action, again it can be nullified. Okay. Now the fourth one, why we went through these three is so you get to the fourth one. The fourth level of karma, most important, is not removable. Now what is that? So up to this level, brothers, understand, right? First one is just the thought, right? First level of karma. The second one is what? The thought, started playing around your mind for a long time. It has already become a provocation and you are about to act on it. That is the second level. The third is what? The thought happened, the provocation happened, and in the third level of karma, you already acted on it. But then you realized, you know what? I did something wrong, right? But here's the fourth one now. The fourth one is the scary one, and that actually causes a dent in your spiritual process. So we need to understand that so that you escape from it. What is the fourth level? It is not removable. That means that karma or that the bad deed does not get removed, whether you go for hajj or umrah, because it has a dent on it, on your soul now. What does that mean? It means, and it is said, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that hukuk of Allah and hukukul ibad. Okay, it is the rights of Allah and the rights of the makhluk or the creation of Allah. Let's look an example. What does that mean? Suppose you are and what is it? It is not removable means it means you have to taste the result of it. You have to go through the pain and suffering. Suppose you are a hunter and you are hunting an animal. Okay. Now your intention is, I want to kill that animal. You target an animal, you shoot a bullet, it passes through 3 trees and finally hits the animal. The animal is crying there, suffering there, right? You are not in any kind of situation where you're in dire state and you're about to fall dead because you're not eaten for 3 days. Nothing like it. You just want to hunt for the fun of it. Okay. And as soon as the bullet hits the animal or the arrow hits the animal, you are in having really rejoicing. You know what, I hit the target, right? And now you have caused pain and suffering. Now, this is just an example of animal. We'll cover in the next slide about how same thing happens between human beings, right? Again, hukuk for Allah and hukukul ibad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a hadith that on the day of judgment, if I have wronged an individual, and on the day of judgment when the scales, the balance are brought in front of me, I'm going to be asked, right? Did you do such and such bad deed to this person? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if out of his mercy, he will say, I will forgive, me for whatever shortcomings I have in my ibadat or any of the rights of Allah. But Allah says, well, as far as the right of this person whom you wronged, that person, he or she has to forgive you. And that person will be asked on the day of judgment, what do you want from this guy whom you want to forgive? If you want to forgive, what do you want? So either good deeds from you would be taken and put into that person's scale, or bad deeds from that person's scale would be put on you. And Allah Ta'ala says that person in the hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that the person will come with a lot of mountain of good deeds, and by the time he has given all his good deeds, as expedition of this hukukul ibad, all his good deeds is gone, and he has now taken all the bad deeds from the other person. Okay, so this is the karma that we're talking about, which we have to be in this path have to be careful. Okay, so let's look at what are the different ways of a person could accumulate the fourth level of karma, which is the most dangerous. Okay, Backbiting, this happens all the time. We belittle people, trying to and this, remember, brothers and sisters, what is the difference in the fourth one? The first one was just a thought. The second one was provocation. The third one was the thought goes and proceeds as provocation. The provocation then proceeds further as action, but still you didn't have a bad intention. The fourth one is the thought went into provocation, the provocation went into action, but the action was accompanied by a bad intention. What is the bad intention? Backbiting. Okay, I want to belittle this person. That was the intention which caused this bad action to come out. Intention was bad. Cheating. I want to bring misery and sadness to that person whom I'm cheating. Lying. I want to dishonor or disrespect an individual. The intention behind that is what? I want to disrespect that individual. So I'm going to lie about that person. I'm going to get, bring out false stories about that person, right? Bad intention of rejoicing when somebody else's pain and suffering is happening. There is hatred, killing of somebody, celebrating. Could be a terrorist killing innocent people who have nothing to do with him, right? So all these things have bad intentions behind. These are the karma that a seeker should definitely avoid if he wants to proceed in this path. Okay, because whether you go for Hajj or Umrah, or you do whatever you want, you will not be able to get rid of this karma. Okay, now what again? Let's go through this slide quickly. Now, what does it mean? Now it cannot be removed from effort. This karma cannot be removed. It cannot be reduced unless the person who was harmed forgives you. If it is too late, then you pay the price on the day of Qiyamah, which means if the person who you harmed is no more there, he passed away, or he's no more, you can't contact him and he has not forgiven you, then wait for the day of Qiyamah, right? And we talk about, how the soul goes through cleansing process. Now, brothers and sisters, and I want to touch on this topic. I put it here in purpose. Be born again, go through trials and tribulations. And why this is, because a lot of Muslims, of today, they say they are not, they say, well, we believe in the day of judgment, right? And where we're going to be resurrected again, but we don't believe in, like the concept of the Hindu concept of rebirth, the other religions which have. But definitely there is the concept of rebirth. But at the level of Shariat, people are not aware of it. Okay, the Qutubs who have come in this path, they have given a lot of proofs, and they have definitely given more insight of that people will be reborn. And we will talk about this thing in just bear with me. I don't want to touch on this here because there are other slides which will talk about rebirth and why it happens and everything from the Qutub's point of view. Okay, and again, we talked about this thing earlier, that this is a presentation at a higher level than Sharia. Okay, so brothers and sisters, please bear with me because maybe this is new you're hearing, and we will go through it. Okay, so again, quick thing, right? Quick thing is, the karma, right? So let's quickly go through the first, second, third, and fourth. The first one is, we said it was just a thought. So what is that comparison? You think about it, that a wall in front of you. Okay, and what does the wall represent? The wall represents your own soul, yourself. Okay, so the dry sand was thrown on the wall, right? And what happens? The dry sand just was thrown. It was on the surface. You can wash it away. Not a big deal, right? That was the first level of karma. The second level of karma is wet sand. The sand, dry sand. First was dry sand. The second one was, it was a provocation, right? It is like wet sand was thrown on the wall. So it's little bit of it stuck on the wall, but again, you can use some water and brush it off. Okay. Now the third one is where we said there was definitely provocation, right? There was a thought, there was provocation, and there was action. In this case, a clay, clay was taken and thrown on the wall. Again, the clay goes and sticks on the wall. Again, if you take a little bit of effort, little more effort, you can scrub the clay off the wall. Okay. The fourth one, which we said here, not only the action, not only the thought, the provocation and the action, the bad intention was involved. Remember this thing, brothers and sisters. Innamal amalu binniya, hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is the niyat which judges the action. The fourth one is bad intention was also involved. It is like throwing a rock on a wall. The rock goes and smashes on the wall and it creates a dent or a crack on the wall. Now you cannot just wash it away. There has been a dent, there's a crack, and you have to now patch it. It's very difficult. Okay. Even if you patch the wall, because there is a crack, it will not be like the previous wall which was there with no cracks. Okay. So the bottom line is, brothers and sisters, why we put all these things together is to make the seeker realize, please try to stay away from the fourth category of karma. Okay. Can you reach enlightenment process with the fourth karma when you have accumulated fourth karma? Answer is, it is a big blockage and you have to give result. You have to go through the expedition process, face the consequences, and then the spiritual process will start or resume. And this happens when you reach the feet of the Kutub. What does that mean when you reach the feet of the Kutub? It means if you reach the feet of the Kutub and you fall at the feet of the Kutub and you cry, your previous baggage of your soul will be taken out. The charge sheet will be taken out and you'll go through some trials and tribulations in this life so that the fourth category of karma will be deleted and it will be cleaned off from your book of deeds. Okay. And again, brothers and sisters, the fourth level of karma doesn't have to be from this lifetime. It can be from your previous life. So I'm going to give you an example here because definitely, I don't want to be you to be skeptical about it. Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, who is the Qutb of America, right? Who, when he was in his body form and he was sitting in Philadelphia at the fellowship, okay, and it was his practice that early in the morning, Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu used to give a talk to the followers. One day, what happened? Early in the morning, few blocks away from Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu's fellowship in Philadelphia, a woman used to live there, okay, and her house was not that far from the fellowship. Now, on that fateful morning, 2 blocks away from this woman's house, a 4-year-old baby girl, okay, brothers and sisters, a 4-year-old baby girl was raped and the body was found of the 4-year-old girl was found in the bushes close to her house. Okay. Now try to understand this. Okay. So the police found the body and the postmortem was done on the body. And it was soon realized that the girl, even though she was taken from her house and raped by somebody and thrown in the bushes, the baby girl did not die from the rape. The baby girl still survived from the rape, but because the baby girl's clothes was completely, there were no clothes covering her body in the night, it snowed. Okay. And the baby girl died because of hypothermia, basically she died shivering to death. Okay. Now such incidents could happen. A lot of people go through suffering in this life. The point is, this woman, she was shocked when she heard it, who was a follower of Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, and she said she thought about it, and it's a blessing that this event happened for you and me. Okay, let me complete the story. So she thought that here is the Kutub of Allah, who is few blocks away from this incident happened. How can Allah make it happen, who calls about himself as Rahman and Rahim in Surah Fatiha, and he could have let this baby girl survive even with this rape incident happening. if it had not snowed in the night, this baby could have survived in the night. Because it snowed and the baby's body was covered with snow, freezing cold, she passed away. And she couldn't digest that. Here is the Kutub of Allah, Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, sitting in Philadelphia, less than a mile away from this, heinous incident happening, and he couldn't help protect the girl. And she goes running to Baba's feet and says, Baba, you are the Kutub. You better tell us how this happened and why this happened. Because I am losing faith in God, that such an elevated soul who is the Kutub, he's here, and guess what? This has happened. Baba, at first, he kept quiet. He didn't want to say anything because this is the hidden knowledge, brothers and sisters. I am revealing it because I feel the time has come, right? That people need to know about this thing and try to understand what is at stake in this lifetime, right? So Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, first of all, he kept quiet. Then he said, okay, I will reveal to you what is actually the main reason behind it. And he said, when you understand what is the main reason about that 4-year-old girl dying, you will fall in sujood, brothers and sisters, you will fall in sujood in shukr of Allah. This is the great part. Okay, and we need to understand that. So what is that? Full story. Let's look at the full story. So Baba says, in the previous life of this girl, the girl who was the victim, the baby girl, 4-year-old girl who died because of rape. And not because of rape, because she was raped, she was thrown in the woods, it snowed in the night, and because of hypothermia, right, the heat escaping from the body, if I say it correctly, the word term, that she died because of that. Baba says, in a previous life, this girl's soul was in another body who was a serial killer, and it was a man's body. Okay, and this man had done similar crimes on lot of other women and raped lot of other women with a bad intention. We are talking about the 4th level of karma here. Okay, and because of that, in a previous earth plane, this doesn't have to be the same earth plane, and we will talk about this in detail in this presentation. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. So what happens is, in this earth plane, not in this earth plane, in a previous earth plane, or in a previous yuga, you could say, um, uh, this person was a serial killer, right? He used to rape women, and because of that, this person was punished in hell. Hell is what? Hell is not just, think about, for example, in Surah Bayina, you say, Lam yakul ladina kafru min ahlil khitabi wal mushrikina fi nari jahannam khalidina fiha ulaikum al sharal bariya. That, the hell is not just like, Allah is sitting there on the arsh and, he's doing barbecue. He's roasting your flesh and, he's sitting there and having a good time. No. Hell is whatever you do to somebody, you have to go through the same pain and suffering with interest. That is what actually it means, because you have to realize what you have done. So when this serial killer or the serial rapist, when he passed away in his previous life, his soul went to Allah and kept on begging to Allah that, Ya Allah, please forgive me for what I have done. And Allah in his infinite mercy said, I will forgive you and accept you, purify you and accept you into Jannah, provided you are ready to go through a pain and suffering in another life form. And I will give you a body, you go through the pain and suffering, and then I will take your soul back into illalahu, into nothing but Allah. And it was the agreement of the soul and agreement of all the other souls which were pained by the serial killer and rapist in the previous life, that this soul was brought back into this life here. And like a 4-year-old child, he lived in the house. He was taken by some other crazy guy, who has now generated 4th level of karma, right? The present rapist of this 4-year, but that's a different cycle happening, right? Again, people do wrong things. But the point is, this baby girl going through the suffering and dying out of the snowfall, and not only going through the suffering of rape, getting raped, what is the end story? Allah accepted that soul back into Jannah. If Allah had not, because remember, brothers and sisters, the Arsh of Allah is sitting on, the foundation of Arsh of Allah is sitting on Ya Sabur. Okay, is patient. The top of the Arsh of Allah, the highest level is Ya Adil, which is the most just. And below that is Rahman and Rahim. Below Adil is Rahman and Rahim. So there is no Rahman and Rahim without Adil. So for Allah, justice is most important. Because if there has to be compassion and mercy, it only happens if there is justice. Right? So when the woman realized that this 4-year child soul had done so much of harm, fourth level of karma for previous souls in the previous yuga or previous lifetime, so she fell in prostrate, thanking Allah for that small life that the child had to go through. 4 years of life. She didn't go through 20, 30 years of life on this earth. 4 years she went through this trial and tribulation, and she was forgiven, taken back. So brothers and sisters, there is more to life, right? Not just what we see. And for that we need to humble ourselves. We talked about it. Alif Lam Mim. We said this is the universe, the secret of the universe. I have to humble myself. If I say I know everything, I'm a great guy, then brothers and sisters, this path is not for that person. This path is for a person who's like a fakir. Every time Allah, you're telling Allah, Allah, I don't know anything. Please teach me. And Allah in His infinite mercy, looking at the intention, brothers, intention behind your joining this journey, that what, I want to get deeper to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, connect to Him, understand the burden of my own soul, why I have come in this body form today. Not because I'm the great guy, no. Because I have failed to go into illallahu in my previous birth. I have done something wrong in the previous time, that this time I have been given another chance. Okay. So moving on, again, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu used to say that you have to check your intention within your intention all the time. Can you imagine that? He is so deeply analyzing this thing. He said, not only check your intention, but go within intention within your intention. And these were Sahabis who were trained directly by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and spent a lot of time with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. So again, the key to this thing, what are we trying to say here? Your intention has to be neutral all the time or positive. You do good deeds, have no expectation. You should not have intentions like I need to be recognized, I need to be admired, I need to be known. Do the duty as without any attachment to the results or self-recognition. Your goal, your journey is to reach into illallahu, nothing but Allah. And how do you reach illallahu? By dissolving your ego, by dissolving yourself. And that is the meaning of the kalima la ilaha. La ilaha is what? There is no Allah, which means you are negating your own self. You are negating your own ego. You are negating your own monkey mind. And you say it is nothing but Allah exists. And then we will talk about this in a beautiful way in the following slides, where we talk about in a beautiful way what illallahu means. Okay. And again, what happens when you start your self dissolving process, then the karma of your birth, not this life, brother, the burden on your soul starts to burn away. Now you start your journey to reach enlightenment. And it's a beautiful story. I just put this placeholder here. It says the story of Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. And this is there's a hadith of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. What he said, that about an old mother who used to take care of orphan children. Versus a rich man who lived. They both lived. The rich man and the mother, they lived at the same time. And the old mother, she was a laborer. She used to do labor jobs, and she used to survive from morning to evening. If she worked hard, then she would get some money. and nobody knew her. She was just an old woman. She had no children. But what happened? She used to take care of two orphans. Okay, and every day in the evening, these two young boys, they used to live with her, and they were not her children or her grandchildren. They were just orphans, and she would work hard morning to day, evening as a laborer. Whatever money she used to get, she could have hardly some food to buy enough food for two people. And then she used to bring the food in the evening, and then half of the food she used to give it to the children. The small children would eat. She would eat something because she needs energy for the next day. And that's how she brought up the two children. Okay, and then one day she passes away. Okay, the next one was a example of a rich guy who was there at the same time in a nearby village, and he was a very nice guy. He did a lot of good deeds, you know and did a lot of good for the community. Both of them die, and they come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on the day of judgment, and this is Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, he said this story, is on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the old mother's soul that whatever is in Jannah, you can take it, right? Just take whatever you want. This is all for you. And for the rich man who had built roads, dug wells, did so much of good deeds for hundreds and thousands of people, for the rich man, Allah said, I really don't have anything much for you. So the rich man was shocked. He said, well, what did this woman do? All she took care of was two orphans. And he look at this, I have a huge list of what good deeds I did. I built schools, I built hospitals, I dug well, I made roads, I employed so many people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I know you have done all these deeds, this list of deeds. And this woman only took care of these two orphans. And then she passed away soon too. Said, but when she took care of these orphans, remember that every day in the evening, when she used to come home, she used to give half of her wealth. What is this, brothers and sisters? Because that's all she had. She used to make the children live in her house, and half of the wealth she used to give it to the children every day and feed them. As far as you are concerned, the rich man, he said, I given you a lot of wealth, and I know you have done a lot of good deeds. But guess what? Your intention behind doing these good deeds, whether building hospitals or making roads or digging wells, is always to get a good name in the society. And because you wanted the good name, I also gave you a good name in the world. Plus, you wanted to become leader of the community. I gave you that also. You became the leader of the community. And I blessed you with more money, and you did good deeds. But guess what? Whatever your intention was, to get a good name, to become the leader of the community, to make a lot of money, I satisfied all that in the dunya. Didn't I do that? He said yes. So then what you are asking from me today? So brothers and sisters, it's extremely important, right? Not just doing good deeds. What is the intention behind doing these deeds? That is what's going to count on the day of judgment. Okay. Now we're going to go to the next section in this, again, bottlenecks in this process of enlightenment. Okay. uh, you know Again, we are living in times where it's very difficult that to go through, get the right teacher, very very difficult, and that's one of the reason, put this topic, spiritual journey versus spiritual entertainment. And you know uh, everything in this world today, there is an entertainment part, so let's look at the spiritual entertainment first. What does that spiritual entertainment mean? Right? Oh, you think you are in a spiritual, you know, path, right? But you're having a good time. There is love for dunya, the fear of death, hubbud dunya wa karahatul maut, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's hadith. You know, then we are talking about the gurus and the sheikhs. Gurus means these are gurus from the Buddhism or Upanishad Vedas point of view. Sheikhs, as far as Islam is concerned, you follow a certain sheikh on, and he has lots of hundreds and thousands of murids, and a lot of money is coming, a lot of glory is there, and you are one of those followers running behind him, and you're getting a lot of attention, and you think you're doing great. Okay, because I'm connected to this guru, and or the sheikh, and you know you're having a real good time. You're getting attention. You're not, you're seeking attention, you're getting attention, you are important person, and you think you are a good human being. That is the main thing. What is it? I think I'm a good human being and I'm doing great. I'm connected to this guru or sheikh, and but guess what? That internal process of self-evaluation and asking Allah to remove the burden of my soul, that is not going on. It is just some drama is going on, right? You're not focused all the time on your spiritual goal. That spiritual goal of loving loneliness, become a fakir, and we'll talk about that in the next few slides, is low in priority. If any hardships come in your way, you take a back seat. You know, I don't want any hardships, because I'm connected to this guru or this sheikh, and he should take care of the hardships. He should make dua, prayer, and I'll be fine. What that means? You're not willing to pay the price of your spiritual enlightenment process. You are born with a body because there is a burden on your soul. Otherwise, you and I should have gone into illallahu. That is the bottom line truth, brothers and sisters. We should not be proud that we are born with a body. The reason is because we failed the last time. That is why we are here. Most of us are here because of that. So there is nothing to be proud about that we have a body. It is because we failed the last attempt. Okay. And we need to burn off the karma, the fourth one, so that we can go back to illallahu. So I hope I clear this thing. It's not a much difficult topic. Spiritual entertainment, you are still connected to some guru or sheikh, and you're going through a good time, having some good meal, going there once in a while, you listen to lectures and you feel good about it. And you're still going through normal life, still attracted to the dunya, going through all the attractions of the dunya. You are not doing zuhud, you're not trying to, do spiritual practices, and trying to discipline yourself. That is part of it. It's an entertainment basically. All right, it won't take you anywhere. That's the reason I wanted to put this slide here. Go to the next one. Spiritual enlightenment journey. Realize that there is no shortcuts here. Very, very important. Spiritual journey, enlightenment, there is no shortcuts, brothers and sisters. If we have fourth level karma, we said the first, second, third, and fourth, we'll have to pay the price. When you reach the feet of the Kutub and you fall at their feet and you say, I want to cleanse myself, then the correction starts. You might go through some trials and tribulations a little more than other human beings have to go through, but it will prepare you if you have the niyat, again, if you have the niyat to go into illallahu. You're ready to stick to the path. Second line, pay the price of your thoughts, actions, and intentions. You do good deeds, but you're not attached to it. You are not worried about materialism, no glories of the dunya, position, power, title, fame. You could be a big sheikh, you could be a big guru, and that's what I'm trying to say. But if you think you are going to, catch your followers and not let them proceed, or you are going to keep them with you all the time, there could be some followers of the guru or the sheikh who want to go ahead in the spiritual process. Maybe the guru or the sheikh is only up to a certain level, and they are not at the level of the kutub. So whatever level of enlightenment they would get from the guru or the sheikh is limited. There could be some of the seekers who are ready, or their soul is ready for higher levels. They should be allowed to move ahead. Today it doesn't happen. The guru or the sheikhs, they keep their followers tied to them because they want to preserve them. It is like they own them. That is not the case. If the sheikh or the guru is an enlightened soul, he will let them go. He will say everybody is free, right? So these are the things I have to look at carefully. The next thing, importance of ibadat. disciplined way of life. Whether I connected to a sheikh or a guru, my individual discipline is extremely important. The sheikh or the guru is not going to give me a free ticket. No way. The next one, is again giving, baya or connecting to a guru or a sheikh. You have to analyze what we talked about, the truthfulness, sincerity, right? The four levels of karma, all these things you have to analyze and look at your sheikh before you give baya to a sheikh and see how much can this guy help me, right? Because when you give baya or you submit yourself to a guru, you're literally putting your future of your soul at his feet. So you better be careful. I'm not saying don't do it. Better do it, because then at least you will get somewhere. If you're at the level of Shariat, you are not doing much. Shariat is not going to take you much. So better to submit. But the point is, be careful about all these things. Okay. Because we are talking about the essentials of the spiritual path, and I'm trying to cover as much as I can. All right. Definitely there are a lot of good sheikhs, there are a lot of good gurus today. If you look for them. Again, the intention. Ask your Lord to give you the right sheikh or a guru, and have your good intentions, you will get there. What is the final goal? Illallahu. The person who dies in illallahu, his body does not decay in the grave. That is the truth, brothers and sisters, which means the body is filled with the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This topic of the Noor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam filling the body is covered in Haqiqat-e Muhammadiyya Noor Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam presentation. Go through that and inshallah you will get more information. So that is my goal. Okay. Quickly, this is a quick thing. Okay. Just to let you know who Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who is Panjatan Pak. Panjatan Pak, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Hassan radiallahu anhu, Hussein radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu, and Fatima radiallahu anha. 5 of them. One day Jibreel alayhi asked Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked Jibreel alayhi wasallam, what is your age? And Jibreel alayhi wasallam told Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that I don't know your age, but I know that, after he was born or he was created, Jibreel alayhi wasallam, I used to see a star every 70,000 years. Now this is not the years of the earth. Earth has got a sun revolving around, we are revolving around the sun, and that takes 365 days. That is 1 year, right? That is not the earth years. We're talking about the heavenly years, 70,000 years. Jibreel alayhi said, after I was born, I used to see a star which would come every 70,000 years, and then it would stay for 70,000 years. Once it disappears, it would not come back for next 70,000 years. And I have watched this cycle 70,000 years times, so many times. So basically 70,000 times 70,000. And that is not earth years, it is heavenly years. So he said, that star, I have seen a star. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, Ya Jibreel, that star. This is a hadith, given the reference here. The point I'm trying to say is that the hadith says that star has got 2 earrings. One earring is on the right is Hassan radiallahu anhu, on the left is Hussein radiallahu anhu. That star has got a turban, and that turban is Ali radiallahu anhu. That star has got a necklace with a gem at the heart of the star, which is Fatima radiallahu anha. So brothers and sisters, this is the divine light, the Panjatan Pak of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ali radiallahu anhu, Fatima radiallahu anha, Hassan Hussein radiallahu anhu. This is the divine light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the divine guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. It is not just the human form. You have to go beyond the human form. And all that secrets is explained in Alif Lam Mim. So, and the kutubs of Allah, because they are the hidden mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have given this ilm, this knowledge in their books, in their teachings. Everything comes from Hadith and Quran, but you need the knowledge from the Ilmul Bahr, and we will talk about the Ilmul Bahr, which is the ocean of divine wisdom. and the kutubs come in this life form and they give you this ilm. So those souls who are destined for higher level of ilm will get this ilm and they will worship Allah the way he should be worshipped. Okay. Again, a quick hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which I want to quote here. The hadith says, "Al middatu baytud dai wal himayatu rasud dawa." The stomach is the home of disease, and abstinence is the head of every remedy. Why I put this thing here is because we talked about the essentials, a lot of things today. One of the things which is very important in this path is you have to control what you eat. Okay, and because this is like a summary, there is a Zabiha presentation also available on the website zikrakutub.org, and that Zabiha presentation talks about what is the true way of sacrifice, and Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu talks about becoming a vegetarian and why he says that. Okay, and again about fasting, you have to fast as much as you can because this path is about controlling your lower self. So having a complete full stomach all the time and thinking that you will reach anywhere, it is very difficult. Okay, let's keep going. Now quickly we're going to go through this triangle here. There are two triangles. Okay, and I'm going to relate to this body. The base of the triangle on the top is Iman and Islam, and the higher level is Ihsan. Again, Iman is faith, Islam is the way of life, and Ihsan is worshipping Allah as if you're seeing Him. That is the higher level. Okay, the lower level, you see anger on the left hand side, ignorance on the right hand side, and arrogance towards the bottom. So anger, ignorance, and arrogance, the lower triangle. Iman, Islam, Ihsan on the higher triangle. Now, quickly we are going to relate this to your body. Okay, the top of your body, okay, and this is called Lataif, okay, is left hand side is Iman, right hand side is Islam, and the top is the third eye, which is Ihsan, which you see Allah through the spiritual eye. The not Allah directly, but the Noor of Allah, Noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through the third eye. When the third eye opens up, it is called as Kursi. On the top of the head, it is Arsh. So the point is, within the human being, these things are there. Okay. Similarly, I go to the next slide. This is the bottom triangle where you have the anger on the left hand side, right? The ignorance on the right hand side, which is your heart, which is ignorant, and the arrogance of the holes. Baba talks about the 9 holes and the 2 holes at the bottom, which is the bottom is anus and the penis, which is the hole of arrogance Baba talks about. And these are things which the Kutub has deciphered everything, and he has given you this ilm. Again, man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. The person who realizes his self has realized Allah. So there are a lot of secrets. The 9 openings and the 3 hidden openings, the 12 openings of your body, right? The 12 zodiac signs, right? All those things has relation, brothers and sisters. The deep science, inshallah. So I'm just throwing out this thing so that you understand the relationships here. Okay, and encourage you to go through this. All these teachings has been given by Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu in his books. Again, topic of arrogance. Baba says people have arrogance for different reasons. Some people are arrogant about their wealth, their position, their status in society. But the Kutub says that the worst kind of arrogance is the arrogance of religion. I am on the correct path. I am a Muslim. I am going to heaven. Everybody else is going to hell. Arrogance of religion. I am a Christian. I am on the right path. Everybody goes to hell. I am going to heaven. Similarly, any religion who talks about I am, no. Baba says, no. The true human being who is into the path of dissolving himself, he is a fakir. That is what we're talking about in this thing. The I is not there anymore. You become a fakir. Fakir is what? Who doesn't have anything. Oh Allah, I don't know anything. Allah, you know everything. Ya Rasulullah, I don't know anything. You know everything. Please teach me. You humble yourself. You cry. Get up for tahajjud. You cry. And then Allah's mercy starts showering on you. And you are taken from Shariat to Tariqat into Hakikat, into Marifat, finally into Sufiyat, where you become one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quickly, I'm going to go through some few topics. I know this is getting, lot deep, but unfortunately, I have to go through this. Khwaja Muinuddin Hasan Sanjari Behak Kya Usman Haruni, the Kutub Khwaja Muinuddin Hasan Sanjari Behak Kya Usman Haruni. He came to Ajmer in India from Iran, and he was asked by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to proceed to Ajmer to propagate the true deen of Allah, Islam. So when he came to Ajmer and he used to go and teach humanity love and compassion, one day he was going through Ajmer Sharif, and he was going through one village to another village, and it was in the middle of Ajmer. As you know, it's in Rajasthan in India, and it is a desert. Okay, so it's very hot there and humid sometimes. So he was passing by through a jungle, and it was very hot, and he saw a tree, a large tree which has a good shade, and he found that he thought that he had 40 followers with him, and he thought that he wants to go and rest below the tree. Okay, so as he was walking towards the tree, he found that Khwajaji found that there's a dog who is sleeping below the tree. And Khwajaji immediately thought that I have 40 followers with me, and the first intention was Khwajaji wanted to go and sit below the tree because the shade of the tree was so good that he thought everybody can sit comfortably and rest for some time because it's a hot and humid afternoon. Spend some time and take some rest and then go ahead. But he soon realized that if he goes there and sits there for some time, then the dog who is sleeping there peacefully will get up. And this is a mercy of a true human being, brothers and sisters. And Khwajaji thought, you know what, I don't want to disturb the sleep of the dog. Let it sleep peacefully. So instead of doing that, approaching the tree, he stopped right before it. There was another tree, smaller tree, and he sat there. And he knew that, his path was going, across the tree. So he knew that even if he tried to walk without staying there, because of these people, 40 people behind him, the dog is going to get up because of the noise and the commotion. So he said, let me sit here. So he waited below another tree for a long time. And after, a couple of hours, the dog got up and, it shook itself and he went. Khwajaji saw that the dog has got up and is gone. So he also gets up and he walks. Now think about it, there are different darjas in Islamic spirituality. It's not just like Muslim and Momin, Muslim, Momin, Salihin, Siddiqeen, Abidin, Arifin, Ashikin, Abdals, Kutub. Kutub is a very high level, just below the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So on that day, whatever mercy that Khwajaji showed to the dog, brothers and sisters, we're talking about a dog, a stray dog also. Allah allowed it. So one day, few days after this incident where Khwajaji waited for the dog to finish its sleep, and then once it left, then Khwajaji proceeded on his journey. One day, Allah wanted to upgrade Khwajaji to the level of the Kutub. So this time Khwajaji was going from one village to another village, and he had to cross a stream. Okay, and the stream had marshy water. Okay, and what happens is there in rural India, if you had to cross a stream, there were stones which are kept, brothers and sisters. Okay, that means literally you would balance yourself on the stone and you go from one bank of the stream or a river to the other bank. But this stream had, the water was not clear. It was marshy water. It was, mud was mixed with it. So Khwajaji is crossing this small stream, and he's started, walking on the stones. Suddenly he looked up and he realized that the same dog that he allowed to sleep is coming from the opposite direction, and he's also walking on the stones. Soon Khwajaji realized that if he keeps walking, because even today he has got a huge followers behind him, he will realize that this dog is going to get so scared that he has to jump into the stream of muddy and murky water and has to cross the river or the stream. And at that time, he gets an inspiration from Allah, and Allah is asking Khwajaji this question, and I'll repeat it and say it in Urdu, and I'll give you the translation. Says, Khwajaji, tu bada ki kutta bada? What is the inspiration? And we call it ilham, in Arabic, which is inspiration from Allah. That Khwajaji, are you bigger than the dog, or important than the dog, or the dog is more important to you, or important than you? Khwajaji, because he's an enlightened and a true insan kamil, he says, Allah, every creation of yours is higher than me. And he takes his foot down, and he gets down from the stones and gets into his murky water. As soon as he goes into the murky water, all his followers also follow him, and they also get down from the stones they were on into the murky water. The dog crosses the stream over the stones, and the followers go through the murky water. The moment Khwaja Muinuddin Hassan Sanjari, Behak Ya Husman Haruni radiallahu anhu, reached the other side of the stream, brothers and sisters, in Alam-e Arwa, the world of the souls, it was announced a new kutub. Khwajaji has been upgraded to the level of the kutub by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, the compassion and the mercy shown by Khwajaji to a dog, a stray dog, Allah elevated this human being to the highest level of the kutub, just below the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the true nature of the faqirs and the kutubs of Allah. To sit at their feet, to go to their mazars, to get blessings from them. Your life, your soul gets enlightened from the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is the true path, how you expedite your sins. Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, in the slide, go back to the slide, he used to always call himself the ant-man. I'm an ant-man. He won't even call himself a full human being. Can you imagine that? Ant-man. Chinna Manidan. Chinna Manidan, small man, ant-man. Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, there's so many examples of Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. In fact, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is one of the prophets who has been talked about the most in the Quran. I think 25 times he has been mentioned in the Quran. One time, Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was going in a village, and one of the women who she never had children, and she went to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and said, "Oh Musa, you are the messenger of Allah. Why don't you make dua to Allah that I need?" She didn't have children, so I want children. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam goes into meditation, and he finds out that on Lohe Mahfuz, which is the preserved tablet, he could see it. He finds out, well, there is no scope for child, because that is the qadar of Allah. Again, we talked about the 4 karma levels and how people are born with different intentions and all that, and said, oh, there is no scope for a child. Allah has not provided any children for this woman. And he goes and tells this woman, you know what, I went into deep meditation, and I found out, I communicated with Allah, and you have no scope for children in this life. She takes it, as the final answer, because he's the messenger, the prophet of Allah, at that time. And she says, okay. And couple of years later, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is going through the same village, and finds the same woman standing, but this time she has got a child in her hand. And Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is like, you know, confused. Well, I checked out that, there is no scope of this woman having any children, and how come she has got a child in her hand? So he goes to her and asks, whose child is this? She said, oh, this is my child. He said, when did you have the baby? Then she told the date. So he realized that few months later, this woman has got pregnant and she already got a child. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, being the Nabi of Allah, he goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was Kalamullah. He used to talk to Allah, and he asked Allah, Allah, how come this woman has a child? And I checked her out, and through your preserved tablet, there was no scope for a child because you had not destined the woman to have a child in this life. He said, oh, one of my fakirs, he made dua for her, and I just accepted that prayer of the fakir and gave the woman children. Said, what did the fakir do for you, that you just changed the entire destiny of that woman? He said, oh Musa, you know this fakir very well. He said, I know this fakir, because Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is, he's saying, who is, because he did not make dua, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, because he looked at that the qadar of the woman and fate of the woman and realized that, well, there is no scope. So he said there's no use making dua. But here's Allah saying that the fakir or the darwish, he made dua for the woman and I accepted it. And the Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was more perplexed when he found out that, well, this fakir was known to him. He said, who is this fakir, Allah? He said, oh, this fakir, on such a date, I asked you, Musa, that I need some human flesh. I need some human flesh for sacrifice, as a sacrifice. And I asked you to collect some human flesh and bring. And you went around a lot of places and you did not find anybody who was ready to part with their own flesh. But remember, on that day when you were walking around, you find the darwish, you went to him, and he literally tore off his clothes and took chunks of flesh from his chest and from his hand and from his thighs and gave you the flesh from his body. And he said, is it good enough? He said, yeah, I know that person. He said, Musa, even you had the same flesh on your body, on your chest, on your hand, on your arm. But that fakir was ready to give everything that he had. So he became more dear to me than you. So I accepted his prayer and his dua for that woman. And he said, as far as the fakir is concerned, I made sure that his body came into better shape after he gave the meat to you. That all the wounds were healed and it was as if the body had never gone through any cuts and bruises. So the point is, brothers and sisters, it is how much you are ready to sacrifice. And here's Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, who is the Nabi, who is the prophet of Allah, who was gone through these trials and tribulation. Second thing I want to bring up here is Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and a Majzub. Majzub is somebody who is completely engrossed with Allah. This Majzub was sitting in one of the cities, and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was passing by, and this Majzub, or he's like a madman, you could say, but they're not actually mad. They're completely engrossed in the divine wisdom, or the divine ocean. We'll talk about the divine ocean, that they are not aware of the reality of the world around them, but they are much more elevated than normal human beings, right? And this Majzub was sitting and he was telling Allah, oh Allah, come to me, right? I am going to brush your teeth, I'm going to give you a bath, and Allah, I'm going to put a good dress for you, I'm going to comb your hair. And Musa alayhi salatu wasalam listened to this conversation that this Majzub is having with Allah, and says he takes his Sharia, his stick of Sharia. Brothers and sisters, very important. He takes his stick of Sharia because you know what? He was given the 10 commandments, the Torah, the book, right? The book. And so he says he takes everything and he says, oh, he scolds the Majzub. He says, what do you think? Allah has got hair. Allah has got, he's going to take a bath. He's got a physical body. And he starts yelling at him and he scolds him and said, you now never do this anytime, you are doing something really wrong. And this Majzub, his heart breaks. He says, oh, this is the Nabi of this time, how can I not listen to him? And he just leaves the city and goes into the wilderness of the desert. As soon as the Majzub goes away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately gets hold of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and says, Ya Musa, I did not send you to this world to take the creation of mine away from me. I actually send you to this world to bring the creation closer to me. Even though this person was saying that I will brush your teeth, I will give you a bath, I will put new clothes, he was doing it with love, of love for me. And I accepted that as pure ibadat. Look at that, brothers and sisters. Allah is not even looking at the action, He is looking at the intention behind the action, the pure love that Majzub has for Allah. And Allah is accepting that everything that He's saying, even though that is meaningless, even though Musa والسلام, is okay from a Shariat point of view. Allah scolded Musa والسلام, and said, Go and ask forgiveness from the Majzub. Musa والسلام, being the most obedient of the prophets of Allah, he runs, Nabi, he runs and looking for this Majzub now. And after days trying to find him, he finds him at the in the middle of the desert, sitting there, and he finds and and goes to him and asking for forgiveness. When the Majzub sees Musa والسلام, he says, Now why have you come to bother me? Leave me alone. I have left the cities. Nobody is going to listen to me. And said, No, I came here to ask for forgiveness. He said, After you scolded me, I came into the desert and I sat here crying, and Allah has blessed me with so much of spiritual wealth that He has made me one with Him. Go away in your own life, he said. So this is how much Allah looks at intention, brothers and sisters, and how much He blesses people. So as long as we are sincere, we are honest, we are truthful, Allah will bless you in this path. The third thing I want to say quickly about Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, we are told by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, brothers and sisters, that we have to recite Surah Kahf every Friday. Most of the Muslims who are little bit more disciplined, they will recite Surah Kahf. Now, what is there in Surah Kahf? It is not that you take the Quran and say, Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala Abdul Kitab alam yajalu waja khayman yunzira bashan sadidan min ladunu yubashirul mu'minina alladhina salimuna salihati ajran azima. You're not reciting just like that. The actual reason why the reason why we are asked to recite Surah Kahf is because of the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam. Okay, and what is the basis of the story? Okay, so brothers and sisters, this is a little long presentation, but I want to go through this, okay, so that everything would be given. I want to do justice for the people who are trying to listen and understand this. Okay, so what is the basis of this thing? One day Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was standing and giving a bayan. He was giving a talk, and one of the people in the crowd asked Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, "Ya Musa, who is the most learned person on this earth right now?" Now think about it. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is the Nabi at that time. The Wahi is coming to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Obviously, common sense, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam thought, I think the most learned person is I am himself. So he says, I think I am the most learned person. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not like this answer because he thought he is the most learned person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya Musa, I want you to go to a spiritual journey and you are going to meet your sheikh. What is it? You are going to meet the Nabi of the time, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, is now going to be under the training of another sheikh. And who is the sheikh? Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam. And that is the story in Surah Kahf. And I want to get to this story quickly so that you understand why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told that during the fitna of Dajjal, which we are living right now, that it is important to recite Surah Kahf. Now, people have taken Surah Kahf recitation as the important thing. Even though there is a hadith which says that if you memorize the first 10 ayats of the Surah Kahf or the last 10 ayats of Surah Kahf, you will be protected from the fitna of Dajjal. That is definitely there. But the point is, there is a hidden meaning behind why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to recite Surah Kahf. And that is the story of Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And I want to touch on that so that you understand what it really means. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Musa, prepare for the journey. You are going to meet your sheikh. Now what happens? Suppose you have children in the school, they are going to school or going to college. What do? You have a bag, they have books, they have laptops, right? they have calculators, they have all these gadgets, they take that to the school, come back and all that. That is what their life is, right? Here's Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, the Nabi of that time, going for higher spiritual enlightenment, going to Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, who's going to teach them higher spiritual, lessons. And Allah says, Musa, go into your kitchen. Your wife is frying fish. What is it? Your wife is frying fish. Take one dead fish, put it into a vessel, and start walking. And the place where the fish will come alive, okay, and it will jump out of your vessel. So you have to keep the lid open. You cannot keep it closed. Where the dead fish will come alive, which is already fried, okay, deep fried, and it jumps out of the vessel. That is the place where you're going to meet your sheikh. So what happens? Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, being the most obedient prophet at that time, the human being at that time, he takes the fish, the dead fish, puts into a vessel. It doesn't cover the vessel. He tells his servant Yeshua to accompany him. And from the present day Saudi Arabia, they cross Saudi Arabia, they cross Iraq, they cross Iran, they cross parts of Afghanistan, they cross Pakistan, they cross India, all the way down from Kashmir to Kanyakumari to Sri Lanka. Finally, they reached a place called as Kataragama, which is where Khidr alayhi lived, right? Now imagine the journey. Every day in the evening, they need a shelter because they did not have a Holiday Inn or Marriott or all the hotels at that time. So they had to take shelter in somebody else's house. So think about these two, beautiful human beings, the Nabi of that time, and Yeshua, his servant. They are walking. They come to your house and say they come to your house, right? And you are one of those villagers, and you say Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam has got a bowl in his hand. The bowl has got a dead fish, right? And what is was told? Wherever the dead fish will come alive, you will meet your sheikh. So Musa alayhi salatu wasalam does not know where he's going to meet his sheikh. So he's always expecting, right? When he's always watching the fish. Guess what happens? Complete throughout the journey, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was taunted and he was made fun of. Oh, here is this madman with this mad fellow. They are saying that they are going for higher spiritual elevation, and they're saying that the place where this dead fish will come alive, they're going to meet that enlightened teacher. Enlightenment, they're going to who's going to teach them higher levels of truth and everything. So all through the journey, through all these countries we are talking about, right? Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari to Sri Lanka, they were taunted and made fun of, that whatever Musa alayhi salatu wasalam thought, that I know everything, that was completely destroyed. And finally he meets Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, right? And why it was destroyed? Because people make fun of him, right? And finally he meets Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, where in Kataragama, in the jungles of Kataragama in Sri Lanka. And Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam says, well, here's our class is starting now. You're going to accompany me where I'm going, and you better keep your mouth shut. Don't ask me any questions. If you ask questions on whatever I'm doing, then our relationship is over. Okay, you cannot interfere in what I'm doing. You can follow me. So what happens? First place he goes, there are some fishermen who are living a very pious life. He goes and makes holes. Khidr alayhi goes and makes holes in their boats. Immediately Musa alayhi takes the Shariat stick, because he got the 10 commandments, right? And then he says, oh, why did you do this? You should not be doing this. You have created holes in the boat, right? Which belongs to these poor people. How are they going to fish tomorrow? They're going to be hungry. You should not have done that. Khidr alayhi who is the sheikh of Musa alayhi says, oh, you are not supposed to question me. Remember our condition? You have to keep your mouth shut. Okay? Don't question me. The next thing what happens? They go and find a mother and a father. They have a son. Khidr alayhi takes a sword and cuts his son's head off. Chopped him off. Again, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam could not take it anymore. Why? Because when he was the prophet, he had accidentally killed a human being, and Allah had reprimanded him for that. Oh, same sin has happened here. What did Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam do? Oh, he killed a human being. Oh, okay. You did something wrong. Again, Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam said, I warned you, don't interfere with me. Why did you ask me this question? Okay. Again, he warned him. Third time, they go to a village, and in the evening, they go to a village, and there's a wall which is nearly about to fall. And Khidr Islam starts working on the wall. He puts, he builds the wall back into position. Musa Islam and Yeshua helped him in the process. And the people were so selfish in the village. If you ask from them a glass of water, nobody will give you even a glass of water to drink. Then Musa Islam got so pissed. He said, "Why did you build a wall in this village who don't even want to give you a glass of water?" Then Khidr Islam said, "I have given you three opportunities. I told you don't question me. First time you questioned me when I created a hole in the boat. Second time when I killed the boy. And the third time when I built this wall." And said, you don't have enough patience to go through. And he said, today we part. Okay, your teaching is over. In infinite mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took Musa alayhi salatu wasalam from Shariat into Hakikat and Marifat. And Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, through the blessing of Khidr alayhi salatu wasalam, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was taken into the higher level of ilm marifat. So brothers and sisters, the point I'm trying to make is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is that why we should read Surah Kaf is during the end of times, a lot of illogical events are going to be seen. Shariat will not be able to give you all the answers. And Allah is encouraging the ummat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that it is time for you to go from Shariat into Tariqat, from Tariqat into Hakikat into Marifat. And once you get to Marifat, the protection of the Kutub, all the questions will be answered, your ibadat will fall in place, right? And you will go through the spiritual process with minimum damage during the time of trials and tribulations. Okay, so let me keep going. And quickly, what is Ilmul Bahr? Okay, Ilmul Bahr is the divine ocean of wisdom that we are talking about. All these things I'm talking about is from the divine wisdom which is given by the Kutubs. And in this case, it is from the Kutubs from Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu, Ba'u Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, and all the other Kutubs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is divine wisdom? So you think about it that it is the wisdom, the ocean of wisdom is the ocean of wisdom of all the secret knowledge. And how does that ocean of wisdom pertain to you and me? So this is a simple explanation we are going through. So suppose I am standing at the shore of an ocean. Say I'm going to the Atlantic Ocean and standing at the shore of the ocean, and I'm at a beach and I'm watching the Atlantic Ocean, right? So what am I seeing? I am seeing the waves come through. I am seeing the beautiful, blue sky. The reflection of the blue sky is falling on the ocean. And see the beautiful color of the ocean. Or I see a lighthouse. Or I see a ship far away, container ship far away. That is what I see on the ocean. That is one of the different levels. Okay. Now that is what a person is experiencing who's standing on the ocean. Now there's another person who says, you know what, I want to go a little deeper into the ocean. So what he takes a boat and he starts sailing on the ocean. Now he's sailing on the ocean. He goes, slightly inside a mile into the ocean and then starts looking at the beautiful water around, the waves, some of the fishes around. He touches the water, feels the texture of the ocean, right? So he's more closer to the ocean. Then one of the, another person who is in the boat, he says, oh, you know what? Let me go a little more, good swimmer. So he takes a dive into the ocean and he's swimming around, he's floating around, he's feeling the texture of the ocean, he's feeling the warmth of the ocean, the water, and he's having a good swim. So he's a little more connected to the ocean, right? Definitely more connected to the person who's sitting on the beach, more connected to the person who's sitting in the boat in between the ocean. Now and this person is in the ocean, he's swimming. Oh, there is another person. Okay, what is he doing? Oh, he's taking a deep dive into the ocean and he's going into the, and he's looking for pearls, inside the ocean. So he is now looking at the treasures inside the ocean. Not only just the creation, but he's looking at the treasures. So this person is looking at the ocean from a different perspective. Oh, there is another person who is more interested in the ocean. He takes his scuba diving equipment and he goes not just 10 or 20 feet, he goes maybe 30 or 40 or 50 feet below the ocean. So what he sees from that 50 feet is a different perspective of the same ocean. We're still talking about the Atlantic Ocean, right? And here's another guy who's a sailor, right? He's a person in the Navy. He goes into the submarine and goes 300 feet below the ocean, same ocean, Atlantic Ocean. Guess what? What he sees at the 300 feet below the ocean is totally different perspective. So brothers and sisters, this ilmul bahr that we're talking about, the Shariat, Tariqat, Hakikat, Marfat, Sufiyat, 5 different levels, it's like this example of the ocean. Okay, it is the destiny, the intention of the seeker who wants to go much deeper, understands the reality. Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. Whatever is your reality, the more you understand it, the more you go deeper into Alif Lam Mim, the more you understand Allah, Rasul, and Muhyiddin, the more deeper your the zikr goes in, and the more you're able to understand the burden of your soul. Okay. And again, we talked about this thing, and I'm just going to cover this thing. I think we talked about previously about that 4-year girl getting raped, right? And how Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu gives the explanation. So if you look at today, you see a blind person, right, on the street, and you say, okay, oh, that person is blind. Okay, I have eyes. So is Allah sitting up there on the arsh and playing dice with the universe that he gives somebody eyes, somebody he gives, you know, makes them blind, somebody he makes them born in a country where they have no food, and the child is dying of malnutrition, and I am being born in a rich country. Allah is sitting there and doing what he wills. And then he says, I am Rahman and Rahim. I love you 70 times more than your mother loves you. How can that happen if Allah has no logic? If you ask people at Sharia level, they'll say, oh, it is the trial and it is the testing from Allah. But why? Allah just picks and chooses? No, brothers and sisters. It is the burden of the soul. Okay, the we talked about the thoughts, actions, intentions, what the soul is carrying. Based on that is what your life decides. Okay. And that's what we're saying, concept of heaven and hell. Bao Muhyiddin Radiallahu anhu says that you create the heaven and hell here in the dunya. The pool sirat, right? The straight path is right here in the dunya. And we talked about this in detail in Who Am I, What Am I? Okay, our concept of heaven and hell, the heaven being eternal peace, hell being pain and suffering. The concept of barbecue, the hell with fire roasting from below. These are there, but they are at a Shariat level. But at Hakikat and Marfat level, it is more about the justice of Allah. So if I harm somebody, I have to go through the same physical pain and suffering for the realization of my soul, right? So this particular ilm comes to you once the feet of the kutub touches your neck. This is very important. The feet of the kutub touches your neck, the blessing of the kutub touches your neck. Then this ilm is given to you. Otherwise, normal people don't have access for this ilm. Even if they uh, go through this presentation, they will not get attracted to it or feel like following this path because the feet of the kutub has not touched. Maybe the reason being, maybe this is not their last birth before illallahu, because most of the people who go into deeper into this journey are those people who are done with this world. I'm done with this world, Allah. I don't want to come back into this world again, have a day of judgment, go through expedition of my sin, and no, I'm tired of this thing. I want to merge with you. And we are going to talk about the merger. It's so beautiful, okay? Again, quickly about the brain, the mind, and we're going to go through quickly. What happens with the brain? We talked about it, in the first few slides, we talked about the past and the present and the future. The brain is always looking for excitement. It cannot sit calm anywhere. It either needs the carrot or the stick. you know so that's what keeps the brain cells active. Okay, so it's always jumping from one thought to another thought. The dopamine is the hormone which gets released, so people feel good about it, feel happy about it, right? So when you go into deeper level of meditation, okay, which is there are then at that level dopamine is released, brothers and sisters. But again, what is the niyat behind the meditation? You should be neutral. So what does that mean? Once you meditate deeply and you get into the habit of meditation, whether it is praise or blame or abuse, it should be the same to you. Whether it is success or failure, whether it is recognition or isolation, everything should be same to you. You are not looking for carrots and you are not looking for stick. You are beyond your brain, your mind. All right. How to keep the brain neutral, that is not getting excited either way, right? Is zikr ilahi. You do the zikr of Allah. Emotional and deep connection to the prophets, kutubs, wali, panjatan pak, deep love for them. It keeps you balanced. Compassion and kindness to all human beings. Like Khwajaji, compassion and kindness to even a stray dog, right? Malice towards none, mercy towards all. The Sanskrit shloka, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Let all the creation of Allah, right, be in peace with each other. That is what you are emanating as a human soul, elevated soul, because the human birth is the one of the highest level of birth. Ashraful makhluqat, Allah says, you are the best of the creation. And that one soul is sitting there and not harming any human beings, completely at peace with itself, sitting there in isolation and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that being, through that one soul, sending kindness and compassion to the rest of the mankind. Okay, where do we stand now? Now that we have gone through this quickly, where do we stand now? Right, as a human race, as a civilization, let's take a quick, snapshot. We are arguably, okay, selfish species. We have learned a lot to watch our backs, turn them on others as a way to acquire, hence to protect and survive independently. Okay, we tend to live lives in a bubble of self-regard and preservation. We talked about survivability and reproduction, right? How the brain works, right? We talked about that. Viewing our ecology and each other as separate from ourselves, and because of this, our world seemed to have reached a crisis point, a tipping point now. We have made big mistakes in this process, definitely. But what is the good news? That we are awakening. That is the good news, brothers and sisters. This is an open invitation for people who are watching this presentation, that everybody matters. Every human soul matters, brothers and sisters. Doesn't matter what religion you belong to, whether it is Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism. Start getting into meditation. Start making prayer for the rest of mankind, so that sense prevails. Okay, many of us are finally realizing the world's problems are our problems too. There cannot be a world with peace unless each individual is at peace, brothers and sisters. We are talking about a universal mind, a collective destination. Some enlightened souls have taken upon themselves to pray for the survival and upliftment of mankind. So let us all come together, right? And enlighten ourselves, elevate ourselves, and pray for the upliftment and the survival of mankind and all the creation of Allah who share this planet Earth with us. And finally, the most important line, I can only give what I have. So if I want to give peace back to the universe, I need to have peace within myself. And the beauty of the law of the universe is the universe will give back to you whatever you give the universe. So if you give the universe peace and compassion, kindness, the universe will give back to you peace, compassion, and kindness. Okay. Again, we realize that we must change the way we think and how we have to face this daunting task. How do we teach and train ourselves to act for the highest regard of all rather than the immediate gratification of the self? We have to view the world with hope in the heart and we want to make a difference. We want to cultivate the thought of compassion, and that thought is no more a choice but a necessity now because we are in crisis mode. Okay. Cultivation of compassion. Quickly, we go through that. No one escapes from the suffering in this life because every birth, right, has come with a burden. But what we do with the experience of our suffering is ours to choose. Okay. Choose to use your own suffering as a fertile ground to grow compassion. Okay. We can allow the suffering to shut ourselves down and harden ourselves, or we can use it as a bridge to connect with others. This is the crucial link in understanding others' suffering. For if we know the burden of your suffering, of my suffering, you are capable of recognizing the burden of somebody others. Brothers and sisters, it's very important. I need to know the burden of my soul's suffering. As soon as I realize that and start praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the greater universal happiness, then Allah shows the suffering of the other human beings. And it is a beautiful experience once you go through it. Cultivate compassion, mindful meditation on kindness. You have to imagine you're sitting in meditation and kindness from your heart is spreading all around you and finally into the universe. You as an energy being, not just a human being, Ashraful Makhlukat, brothers and sisters, you are a powerful being. You are sending waves of love and compassion into the universe. Okay, when you show compassion, you are saying that I do not wish to see another person suffer and want to help. The biggest help is to make one understand the burden of this birth and the wisdom needed to cross the pool sirat, which is the straight path. Once you understand the burden of your birth, then invite people into this path. Learn it first, implement it, teach it, and share it. That is what you got to do, brothers. Again, learn it for self, first of all, yourself. You have to implement it in your life so you can experience it. Once you implement it, you have to share it and teach it, inshallah. Okay. What happens? Communication becomes an honest and open exchange when healing and kindness flourishes among each other. Three principles of living life. Live a simple life, be patient and show compassion. Come to know the joy through the hearts of others, brothers and sisters. What we gain from compassion is enormous. It is the liberation of our own soul that we gain from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is illallahu, it's called as illallahu in Islam, it's called as moksha in Sanskrit, it is also called as nirvana in Buddhism. It is all the same, brothers and sisters. Okay, quickly, love your soul and this journey. Okay, it's just a quote. It is beautiful to be alone. To be alone does not mean to be lonely. It means the mind is not influenced or contaminated by society, but the fitna. The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says during the time of fitna, people will be tempted to go and look at the fitna. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that person who is standing and watching the fitna, you know, um, he is in a bad situation. So who is the best person? The best person, he is who is sitting on his musalla, who is sitting on his prayer rug and is in deep meditation or prayer or tilawat of the Quran, that person is the best. He's not watching the fitna. He's sitting there and doing deep mindful meditation, praying for the happiness of the mankind, because you don't want to go. So what it means, the person who's sitting in his deep meditation on the musalla, on the prayer rug and praying, he's better off than the person who's standing up. The person who's standing up and watching the fitna or the trials and tribulation is better than the person is walking towards the fitna and trying to check it out. Oh, what's going on there? And the person who's walking towards the fitna, he's better off than the person who has reached at the door of the fitna, because he's going to be pulled into the fitna. So this is the time, brothers, where you have to start going deep within your own self. Hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that. Okay, and quickly I want to talk about the ilmul bahr. We said, right, about the different levels: the person who is sitting on the beach, the person who is on the boat, the person who is taking a swim in the ocean, the person who has gone dived into the ocean, the person who has done scuba diving, the person who has gone into the ocean with a submarine, right? Now what is the ocean? The ocean is of the illallahu. This time we are talking about the ocean of illallahu, of the divine mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a drop of water from the sea, from the rain, falls into the Atlantic Ocean, the moment the drop of water from the rain, from the clouds, falls into the ocean, it becomes part of the ocean. Okay, so suppose what you do, you take a drop of that water and put it into a container, brothers and sisters, and your small bottle, and you bring it home. Now that drop of water has got all the qualities of the ocean, Atlantic Ocean, which you brought into your house, and you kept it in a safe location. Okay, even though it's separate from the ocean, you have taken the drop from the ocean. So if you take a drop of water from the Atlantic Ocean, you take a drop of water from the Indian Ocean, you take another drop of water from the Pacific Ocean. Each ocean has got its own quality, and they are distinct, right? Similarly, your soul, which is part of illallahu, the divine ocean of Allah, your soul is part of that divine ocean, and that bottle we are talking about is your body. And where does the drop of water which is in the bottle belongs to? It actually belongs back to the Atlantic Ocean from where you took it. Now what you do, you go and take this bottle back to the ocean, and you drop this drop of water back into the ocean, Atlantic Ocean. What happens? The moment it falls back into the ocean, it disappears into the ocean. The next moment you won't realize, oh, where did the drop go? Immediately the moment the drop of water touches the ocean back, it is one with the ocean. Brothers and sisters, your soul belongs to be in the state of illallahu through the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is explained very detailed in Hakikate Muhammadiyah presentation. Through the nur of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you get into illallahu, and that is where your actual destination is. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. That from where we came, we return back to that. Okay. And finally, some tips: keep your heart and your intentions clean. Be like a needle which is when immersed into the Atlantic Ocean now and taken out. In this case, what we're talking about, the ocean, Atlantic Ocean, is an example of the dunya. Not much of the ocean sticks onto the needle. So what does that mean? The meditation cleans the debris of all the unwanted things of the attractions of the world. And what does the hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says? Be like a stranger to the world. Rasulullah Sallam said that. Another thing, he says, pray as if it is your last prayer. Every time you go to the masjid for Jama prayers, it says, the Imam says, Sallu salata muwadda. That pray as if it's your last prayer. So you be closer to your death, because you realize it's a passing moment. Okay. Finally, brothers and sisters, Ba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, he came and he spent years of his life in America, and because of the blessing, he has left behind a lot of tapes and books. A couple of books which are very deep. Again, I just put this as reference. If you visit the mazar of Baba Muhyiddin Radiallahu Anhu or the fellowship, okay, it is www.bmf.org. You will find out that the much more interesting books. This is one of them, The Resonance of Allah, which talks about the explanation of the Noor of Allah, the wisdom and the grace, and the triple flame. Again, on the cover it says, you see, Allah Muhammad Muhyiddin Alif Lam Mim, and there are so many other books you can read from and get wisdom from, inshallah. And finally, this presentation with the beautiful mazar of Baba Muhyiddin Radiallahu Anhu, which is in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. If you are able to visit this place, or wherever you are in the world, visit the place of the Kutubs and the Awliyas and the Abdals of Allah, so that you get the blessings and the fairs from them. And brothers and sisters, please make dua for me, for trying to share this knowledge. If there is any mistake in this presentation, it is from me, brothers and sisters. It's on my own ignorance, and please make dua that the Allah forgives me and accepts me into illallahu. And I will make dua for all of the people who watch this thing, that may Allah bless your spiritual journey and you reach the goal that you're seeking, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.